Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Lettuce Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Becomes the Green Ranger? Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. I'm sorry Mrs. Yagi, but your son is quirkless, the doctor informed her. That was the day everything changed. Izuku Yagi, son of the number 1 hero All Might and the number 5 hero Green Magnet, was diagnosed as quirkless. Meanwhile, his twin sister, Izumi Yagi, was granted a powerful telekinesis quirk. As the years passed, Izuku faced bullying from Izumi and his former friends, Katsuki Bakugo, Katsumi Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki, and Shoka Todoroki. His parents seemed to ignore and neglect him entirely. One day, while in middle school, the teacher announced that it was time for the class to start thinking about their futures, joking that they all wanted to be heroes. The class cheered, except for Izuku. Katsuki scoffed, insisting that they couldn't possibly be in the same league as extras. The teacher then mentioned that Katsuki, Izumi, and the Todoroki twins were applying for the hero course. Katsumi declared that they would be the top heroes and richer than All Might, showcasing their quirks with enthusiasm. The teacher then brought up Izuku's application for the hero course, prompting Katsuki to slam his hand down on Izuku's desk, shouting at him. He belittled Izuku, questioning why UA would want someone deemed useless when they could have capable students like them. After class, as Izuku was about to head home, his sister and the others confronted him. Katsuki snatched Izuku's notebook, and despite Izuku's protests, they kept it out of reach. Izumi laughed at the contents, mocking his aspirations. Shoto told him to give up, while Katsuki decided to destroy the notebook, setting it ablaze and tossing it out the window. Izuku's heart sank as he watched it go. Katsumi taunted him, insisting he would never be a hero and that their parents wouldn't believe him if he told them what they did. Izumi suggested that if he truly wanted to be a hero, he should pray for a quirk in his next life and jump off the roof. They laughed as they left him behind. Feeling defeated, Izuku retrieved his notebook from the fountain, muttering about the bullies before walking home alone. As he walked, he suddenly began to glow green, bewildered by the phenomenon. Before he knew it, he was launched into the sky and found himself in a high-tech room. A voice welcomed him, and Izuku turned to see a giant tube with a large floating head inside. The head introduced itself as Zordon of Elter, an interdimensional being trapped in a time warp. A short robot named Alpha 5 also introduced itself. Izuku, still in shock, asked what they wanted from him. Zordon explained that they wanted him to become one of them. 5 individuals stepped out of the shadows, introducing themselves: Tommy Oliver, his wife Kimberly, Billy Cranston, Zach Taylor, and Jason Scott. They revealed that he might not recognize them without their costumes. Tommy suggested they show him, and Jason declared it was morphing time. They pulled out strange devices with coins inside, transforming into colorful costumes with helmets. They posed as the Power Rangers, a legendary hero team in America. Izuku was astonished, realizing who they were. Tommy explained that they were not in Japan but rather in America, at the command center, their base of operations. Izuku expressed his desire to return home to his family, but Zack pointed out that they were aware of how his family treated him. Zordon, revealing himself as a sage, explained that he knew about the bullying and neglect Izuku faced due to being quirkless. Izuku was taken aback, realizing Zordon had been trapped by an evil sorceress named Rita Repulsa thousands of years ago. Zordon clarified that the Power Rangers were not the result of quirks, confirming that they too were quirkless. Izuku was surprised to learn that they had never revealed their lack of quirks to the public. Billy explained that Zordon had chosen them because he recognized their worthiness. Izuku struggled to understand how this all related to him, feeling lost in the whirlwind of revelations. Tommy expressed his desire for Izuku to join their ranks, stating that he wanted Izuku to take his place as the new Green Ranger. Izuku was taken aback, struggling to comprehend the offer. Tommy explained that he and the other Rangers were retiring after nearly 30 years of service. Kimberly added that some of them had families now, and it was time for a new generation. Izuku questioned what made them believe he was fit for the role, humorously referencing his green hair. Zordon reassured him that it was not just about appearances. He had observed Izuku's good heart and determination to help others, despite the discouragement from his sister and peers. This resilience proved he was worthy of becoming the next Green Ranger. Izuku inquired if he would need to move to America, but Jason clarified that he could be a Power Ranger in Japan, emphasizing the need for Power Rangers in other countries. Tommy then asked if Izuku was in, and after a moment of contemplation, Izuku recalled the harsh words of his family, which fueled his resolve. He asked if he could still attend UA as the Green Ranger, to which Tommy confirmed he could simply say his quirk allowed him to transform. With a newfound sense of purpose, Izuku agreed to join, and Tommy welcomed him to the Power Rangers with a supportive gesture. Afterward, Izuku teleported back to Japan, receiving a watch from the Rangers that would allow him to contact Zordon and teleport to the command center. Upon arriving home, Izuku noticed his parents were oblivious to his presence, as they had neglected him for years. He retreated to his room to research the Power Rangers, eager to learn about the various teams in America. As he prepared to grab a snack, he overheard his father, All Might, speaking to his siblings about his quirk, One for All, and his intention to pass it on to them instead of Izuku, who was deemed quirkless. Anger surged within Izuku as he left the room, feeling betrayed. The next day, Izuku teleported to the command center in America, where Tommy and the others awaited him. They planned to visit Angel Grove for training. Upon arrival, Izuku was amazed by the bustling activity at the Angel Grove Youth Center, where people engaged in various exercises. Tommy explained that this was where he and the other Rangers trained when they were younger. After some exercises and karate lessons, they took a break at the juice bar. Izuku was curious about the other Power Ranger teams in America and listed several, seeking to understand their origins. Tommy explained that some teams were created by Zordon, while others had different mythical origins or were formed by humans harnessing the morphing grid's power. Izuku was astonished to learn about the multiverse and how it allowed Rangers to morph. He was fascinated to discover that Tommy had been more than just the Green Ranger. He had held various Ranger titles throughout his career. Tommy recounted how he had lost his powers and gained new ones, highlighting the rich history of the Power Rangers. Izuku listened intently, his excitement growing as he realized the legacy he was about to join. Later on, when the Machine Empire arrived, Tommy and 4 new teenagers became the Power Rangers Zeo, with Tommy as the Red Ranger of that team. For a brief PRD, he also took on the role of the Red Turbo Ranger while battling an evil space pirate named Divatox. Years later, he mentored the Dino Thunder Rangers and eventually became one himself when he gained access to the Black Dino Gem. Tommy explained that he could still transform into those Rangers. He pulled out a special morpher, which he referred to as a Master Morpher. This device allowed him to morph into any Ranger he had been before, except for the Ninjetti Ranger, which he considered not to count. He mentioned that soon he would no longer be able to morph into the Green Ranger, as that power would belong to Izuku, but he would still retain the other 4 Ranger forms. Izuku expressed his curiosity about the Master Morpher and asked if he would ever get one. Tommy replied that perhaps when Izuku was older and if he became more than just the Green Ranger, he might have the chance. Curious about Tommy's journey, Izuku inquired how he became a Power Ranger in the first place. Tommy shared that it all began at the youth center nearly 30 years ago during a martial arts tournament. He had just moved to Angel Grove and was the new kid in town. In the final match, he faced Jason, and it ended in a tie. Unbeknownst to him, Rita Repulsa was watching from her moon palace through a telescope. Impressed by Tommy's skills, she decided he would be perfect to become her evil Green Ranger. Izuku's eyes widened as he recalled that Tommy had initially fought against the Power Rangers. Tommy confirmed that Rita was the villain behind it all. He recounted how the next day he met Kimberly at school, where he intervened to scare off 2 troublemakers named Bulk and Skull who were bothering her. Afterward, Kimberly invited him to hang out with her and some friends at the youth center. However, while taking a shortcut through an alley, he was ambushed by putties. Izuku recognized the putties as the henchmen the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fought. Tommy explained that he managed to defeat them, but Rita then put him under her spell, turning him into her evil Green Ranger. he admitted to doing many things he regretted, including attacking the Rangers and nearly destroying Zordon and Alpha. He felt remorse for how he treated Kimberly when she asked about his absence at the youth center. Izuku reassured Tommy that it wasn't his fault, as he had not been in control. Tommy acknowledged this but still felt the weight of his past actions. Eventually, the Rangers freed him from Rita's spell, and he joined them, retaining his Green Ranger powers. He noted how they eventually went their separate ways, with new Power Ranger teams emerging across the country. However, he and most of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reunited later. Izuku asked about the Mighty Morphin Yellow Ranger, and Tommy sighed as he revealed that Trini had passed away in a car accident long ago. They had been searching for a replacement for her. Izuku expressed his condolences, and Tommy shared that they all took her death hard, especially Billy, who had been married to Trini. He explained that they had a daughter named Sasha Cranston, who was about the same age as Izuku. Zordon was considering her as the new Yellow Ranger, but Billy was hesitant to let her take on that responsibility, wanting to protect her. Tommy then mentioned that he and Kimberly had a son named James Oliver, also around Izuku's age, and they were training him to be the new White Ranger. Izuku expressed his confidence that James would make a great ranger. Tommy suggested they return to training, and Izuku eagerly agreed. For the next 10 months, Izuku trained hard, learning karate and various skills from Tommy and the other rangers. Meanwhile, All Might had Izumi and the others cleaning up Dagoba Beach. With less than a month until the entrance exams, Izuku found himself back at the command center, standing before Zordon, with the other rangers and Alpha behind him. Zordon commended Izuku on his training, stating that he was now ready to receive the powers of the Green Ranger. Izuku thanked Zordon, who presented him with a morpher. Upon feeling the device on his belt, Izuku looked down to see the Power Ranger morpher attached. He took it off, marveling at it. Tommy stepped forward, handing Izuku his Green Ranger power coin. Izuku inserted the power coin into the morpher, taking a deep breath before declaring it was morphing time. He shouted, "Dragon Zord!" while raising his morpher, and a flash of green light enveloped him. When the light faded, Izuku realized he was wearing the Green Ranger costume. Overwhelmed with excitement, he exclaimed how amazing it felt. Tommy affirmed that he was now the Green Ranger and encouraged him to make them proud. Zordon congratulated Izuku on acquiring the powers of the Green Ranger and urged him to use them wisely, wishing him protection always. Izuku promised he would. Izuku had just received his Green Ranger powers and was eager to learn how to use them. He was currently with Tommy in the forest. Tommy explained that they were there for Izuku to learn how to utilize his Green Ranger abilities and instructed him to morph. Izuku took out his morpher and shouted the iconic phrase, transforming into the Green Ranger. Tommy smirked and informed Izuku that they would be fighting. Izuku was taken aback, unsure of what to expect. Tommy reassured him that he needed to be prepared for anything, including facing someone as powerful as himself. He then morphed into the Mighty Morphin White Ranger, showcasing his own abilities. Izuku, now the Green Ranger, was astonished by Tommy's transformation. Tommy charged at him, swinging Saba, but Izuku quickly defended himself with the Dragon Dagger. The two engaged in a friendly spar, with Izuku blocking Tommy's strikes and attempting to counterattack. Tommy ducked under one of Izuku's kicks and retaliated, pushing him back. Tommy unleashed energy blasts from Saba, but Izuku reacted swiftly, playing the Dragon Dagger like a flute. A force field materialized, shielding him from the blasts. Tommy praised Izuku for his quick thinking and noted how he had utilized the Dragon Dagger to enhance his protection. Izuku shared his surprise at how instinctively he had grasped the powers of the Green Ranger, feeling as if the knowledge had been downloaded into his mind. Tommy confirmed that this was a part of the morphing process, making it feel as though the abilities had always been a part of him. A week later, Izuku and Tommy found themselves in the middle of the desert. Izuku inquired about their location, and Tommy explained that they were waiting for someone. Suddenly, a man teleported nearby, and Tommy introduced him as Adam Park, the second Mighty Morphing Black Ranger. Izuku was excited to meet Adam, who had heard a lot about him. Tommy explained that they were in the desert to summon the Dragon Zord, a giant robot that Izuku could call upon as the Green Ranger. Adam would help Izuku learn how to summon and control the Dragon Zord for battle. Curious about the process, Izuku asked how he would summon the Dragon Zord. Tommy instructed him to morph into the Green Ranger first. After doing so, Tommy explained that Adam would morph into the Black Ranger. Adam transformed and prepared to summon his Lion Thunderzord. As the ground trembled, Izuku witnessed a giant black robot resembling a woolly mammoth approach, which then transformed into a lion. Adam entered the Lion Thunderzord, and Tommy guided Izuku to take out his dragon dagger. Izuku remembered how to use the dagger to summon the Dragon Zord by playing a specific tune. With determination, Izuku raised the dagger to his mouth and began to play the melody, focusing on summoning the Dragon Zord. The Dragon Zord emerged in front of a nearby beach, not the docks. Suddenly, the ground began shaking even more than when the Lion Thunderzord had arrived. Izuku and Tommy turned around to see the Dragon Zord heading towards them, letting out a mighty roar. Tommy instructed Izuku to position the Dragon Zord in front of Adam's Zord. Izuku guided the Dragon Zord to stand a few yards in front of Adam and his Lion Thunderzord. Tommy explained the rules. Whoever managed to knock the other one over first would win. Both Izuku and Adam agreed. Tommy asked Adam if he was ready, and Adam confirmed he was. Then Tommy turned to Izuku, who also expressed his readiness. With a shout of "Begin!" the two Zords clashed. The Dragon Zord fired missiles from its fingers at the Lion Thunderzord, but the heavy armor protected it. The Lion Thunderzord charged at the Dragon Zord's feet, causing it to stumble backward. Ultimately, the Dragon Zord managed to tip the Lion Thunderzord upside down, preventing it from getting back up. Tommy declared Izuku the winner. Afterward, Adam teleported out of the Lion Thunderzord and unmorphed. Izuku apologized for being too rough, but Adam reassured him that he wanted him to give it his all. Izuku expressed concern about the condition of Adam's Thunderzord, but Adam shrugged it off, stating that Zordon could fix it. The Lion Thunderzord then teleported away. Tommy, pulling out his Master Morpher, declared it was his turn. He morphed into the White Ranger, calling upon his sword, Saba. Izuku was surprised to learn that Saba could talk. Tommy introduced Saba to Izuku, and Saba greeted him warmly. Tommy, excited, lifted Saba into the air and activated the Tiger Zord. The Tiger Zord charged towards them at full speed, and Tommy jumped on top of it, riding it over to the Dragon Zord. Izuku smirked, commenting that the Tiger Zord seemed small compared to the Dragon Zord. Tommy responded that looks could be deceiving before entering the cockpit of the Tiger Zord. Tommy reiterated the rules for the next round. Whoever knocked the other to the ground first would win. As soon as Adam shouted "Begin!", the Dragon Zord and Tiger Zord clashed once more. The fight was intense, with the Dragon Zord firing finger missiles while the Tiger Zord retaliated with powerful punches. Ultimately, the Dragon Zord charged at the Tiger Zord, knocking it to the ground. Adam declared Izuku the winner again. After the match, Tommy exited the Tiger Zord and unmorphed, while the Tiger Zord teleported away. Izuku also unmorphed, and the Dragon Zord followed suit. Tommy praised Izuku for defeating both him and Adam in Zord combat, declaring that he was ready. A week later, Izuku stood in front of UA, prepared for the entrance exam. Earlier, he had been at the command center with Zordon, who informed him that the principal at UA was aware of his identity as a Power Ranger and had promised to keep it a secret. As Izuku took a step forward, he tripped on his shoelaces, bracing himself for a fall. However, he found himself floating, thanks to a girl with short brown hair and kind eyes who had used her quirk to save him. She introduced herself as Ochako Uraraka, and Izuku, flustered, struggled to respond. After a brief interaction, Ochako walked away to enter the building, leaving Izuku in awe that a girl had spoken to him. Inside the building, Izuku attended a presentation led by Present Mike. Afterward, he and the others stood in front of the entrance to Training Ground A. He spotted Ochako and was about to thank her for her earlier help when a boy with glasses interrupted him, accusing him of trying to sabotage her. Present Mike then shouted, "Begin!" and Izuku morphed into the Green Ranger, surprising the boy with glasses. He rushed into the training grounds, quickly dispatching multiple robots while leaving some for the others. Meanwhile, Nizu, Tashinori, Inko, and the other teachers observed the students battling the robots. Izumi and the Todoroki twins were taking different tests due to their recommendations, while the Bakugo twins were in training ground B. Inko and Toshinori smiled as they watched their students excel, but then they noticed a figure in green, skillfully defeating robots with a dagger. All Might recognized him as the new Green Ranger from America. The original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were retiring soon, and Nizu explained that he was the one taking the original Green Ranger's place. Inko questioned why he wasn't in America, to which Nizu clarified that he was from Japan and hoped to become the first Japan-based ranger. Toshinori asked who the new ranger was, and Nizu responded with a hint of mystery, suggesting they bring out the 0-pointer instead. Meanwhile, Izuku had just finished defeating multiple robots with his dragon dagger when he felt the ground shake. Suddenly, a giant robot was rampaging through the fake city. The others were fleeing, but Izuku hesitated when he heard someone calling for help. It was Ochako, trapped under rubble, and the 0-pointer was about to step on her. Izuku thought about the nice girl from earlier and realized he had to act. He pulled out the dragon dagger and remembered he had permission to summon the Dragon Zord in case of an emergency. Earlier, Zordon had informed him that he could summon the Dragon Zord only if absolutely necessary. Back in the present, Izuku played the tune, and the Dragon Zord crashed through a building, drawing gasps from the teens around him. They were shocked to see another robot and panicked about how to defeat it. Izuku reassured them that the Dragon Zord was under his control. Despite their disbelief, he insisted he had permission to use it to save Ochako. The Dragon Zord charged at the 0-pointer, knocking it away from her and launching a series of attacks that ultimately destroyed the giant robot. After freeing Ochako from the rubble, Izuku carried her back to safety just as the alarms blared, signaling the end of the exam. He checked on her foot, which she said hurt a little but was manageable. A short old lady dressed as a doctor superhero approached and magically healed her injury with a kiss. Ochako looked up at Izuku, curious about his identity. He removed his helmet and introduced himself as the Green Ranger. The teens around them were astonished, realizing he was the new Green Ranger, not the legendary one they had heard about for years. Izuku explained that he could summon the Dragon Zord, which waved at the crowd below. One of the teens protested, questioning how he could have such a powerful ally. Izuku clarified that he had permission from the principal to use it in emergencies, and since Ochako's life was in danger, he believed it qualified. When asked if he could dismiss the Dragon Zord now that the exam was over, Izuku agreed, and the giant robot teleported away, leaving the teens in shock. Meanwhile, the teachers had witnessed the Green Rangers summon the Dragon Zord and defeat the 0-pointer. Toshinori was incredulous, but Nizu confirmed that he had given Izuku permission to act. They watched as Izuku rushed to help Ochako and then took off his helmet, revealing his identity. Inko and Toshinori were stunned to discover it was their son. Nizu questioned why they had ignored Izuku for so long simply because he was quirkless. Toshinori dismissed the concern, but Aizawa expressed his disgust at their neglect. Nizu warned them that they would discuss this later. After the exam, as Izuku prepared to leave, Ochako caught up with him to express her gratitude for saving her. She asked if she could walk home with him, and he agreed. As they walked, she realized she didn't know his last name. He simply replied that he was just Izuku, avoiding eye contact. At the subway station, Ochako mentioned that she hoped they would be in the same class. Izuku echoed her sentiment, and they parted ways as she boarded her train. When Izuku arrived home, his parents confronted him about how he became a Power Ranger and why he hadn't shared this with them. Izuku expressed his frustration, pointing out their lack of interest in his life until now. Weeks later, while researching Power Rangers in his room, Izuku heard his father call for him and his sister, Izumi. They went downstairs to receive their letters from UA. After reading his letter, Izuku activated a holodisk that revealed Principal Nizu congratulating him on achieving the highest score in the entrance exam, including points for saving Ochako. Izuku was overwhelmed with joy, realizing he was one step closer to becoming a hero. And may the power protect you always. The next day, Izuku teleported to the command center, where he was greeted by Tommy and the others. He excitedly shared the news that he had been accepted into UA. Jason expressed his happiness, while Tommy expressed pride in Izuku for proving himself capable of handling the power of the Green Ranger. They all discussed the entrance exam, amazed that Izuku had to summon the Dragonzord. Alpha chimed in, surprised that UA would bring out such a massive robot. Zordon explained that Principal Nizu had a unique way of thinking, often causing chaos but with the best intentions for his students. Izuku noted that he needed to get to UA soon for his first day and said goodbye to his friends. After teleporting near UA, he entered the building and made his way to the 1A classroom. Standing in front of the door, he thought about how large it was. Upon opening the door, he saw Katsuki and Katsumi with their feet on their desks, while a boy with glasses reprimanded them for their disrespectful behavior. Izuku internally groaned at his luck of being in the same class as them. The boy with glasses introduced himself as Tenya Ida from Sumai Academy, but Katsumi challenged him, suggesting he thought he was better than them. Izuku told them to mind their own business. Both Katsuki and Katsumi were shocked to see him and exclaimed his name. A familiar voice from behind him caught his attention. It was Ochako, who thanked him for saving her from the giant robot with his own. Izuku felt a blush creeping up as he responded shyly. Suddenly, a voice from behind them interrupted, telling them to leave if they were there to make friends. They turned to see a man resembling a giant caterpillar lounging on the floor. He introduced himself as their teacher, Shota Aizawa, before emerging from his sleeping bag and entering the classroom. After everyone took their seats, Izumi and Shoto approached Izuku, demanding he move from his desk. Izuku stood his ground, insisting he was there first. Tensions rose as Shoto attempted to grab Izuku, but Izuku countered, pushing Shoto to the ground. Aizawa intervened, instructing Izuku to let him go. Izumi helped Shoto up, and he glared at Izuku. Aizawa then reprimanded Izumi and Shoto for their behavior and ordered them to sit at the back of the classroom. They grumbled but complied. Aizawa introduced himself as their teacher for the next 3 years and instructed them to change into their PE uniforms for training. Once outside, Aizawa announced they would be participating in a quirk apprehension test, shocking the students. They protested about missing orientation, but Aizawa asserted his authority, explaining that the student with the lowest score would be expelled. The first test involved throwing ball as hard as possible. Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins excelled, utilizing their quirks effectively. When it was Izuku's turn, he stepped forward, dismissing the doubts of others. He pulled out his morpher, explaining it was support equipment for his quirk, which Aizawa confirmed. When Izuku morphed into the Green Ranger, the class was astonished. He threw the ball with incredible strength. As the tests continued, Izuku performed well, having experience with similar exercises. At the end, Aizawa revealed the scores, with Izuku achieving one of the highest, while Minoru Mineta received the lowest score. Aizawa instructed Mineta to pack his things and leave, to which Mineta lamented his missed opportunities. Izuku told him to get out, and at the end of the day, everyone went home. As Izuku was about to leave, Ida asked if he could walk home with him, to which Izuku agreed. Ochako also requested to join, and the three of them walked home together. They were about to reach the train station when suddenly they were ambushed by Izumi, the Todoroki twins, and the Bakugo twins. Izuku questioned their intentions, asking what they wanted. Katsuki responded with a challenge, expressing that they were there to put Izuku and his friends in their place, while creating explosions in his hands powered by One for All. Ida protested, pointing out that their actions were a violation of the law. Katsumi dismissed him, telling him and his friend to stay out of it. Izuku warned them against escalating the situation, but Izumi taunted him, questioning when he had become a Power Ranger, noting that they were from America. Izuku clarified that he was the first to be based in Japan. Tommy, the White Ranger, stepped in, stating that they should leave Izuku alone or face arrest for using their quirks without a license. Katsumi defiantly threatened the Rangers, ready to unleash an explosion. Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, responded by demonstrating her own abilities alongside the other Rangers, creating a dramatic explosion behind them. Katsuki, frustrated, shouted at the Rangers, preparing to attack, but Tommy intervened, grabbing his wrist and twisting it to stop him. Katsuki yelled for Tommy to let him go, but Tommy challenged him to make him. Izuku urged Tommy to release Katsuki, suggesting he wasn't worth the trouble. Tommy complied, advising the kids to run along since they were pro-heroes who could arrest them. Izumi suggested they leave, and the Bakugo and Todoroki twins glared at Izuku, with Katsuki promising that this wasn't over. After they departed, the Rangers approached Izuku, Ochako, and Ida, checking if they were all right. Tommy explained that they had come to visit Izuku and intervened when they saw the confrontation. Izuku expressed gratitude for their help, acknowledging that things could have escalated without their arrival. Ida asked who the Rangers were, and Izuku introduced each of them, explaining their significance. Tommy welcomed them, and they all headed to the train station together. As they parted ways, Tommy said they would see Izuku the next day, and the Power Rangers bid him farewell. Izuku, Ochako, and Ida boarded the subway, heading home. The next day, Izuku and his classmates were sitting in class when a familiar voice echoed from outside. Izuku recognized it immediately and braced himself. All Might burst through the door with Inko right behind him, announcing their arrival with enthusiasm. Kaminari and Ojiro reacted excitedly to All Might's presence and costume. All Might welcomed the students to Heroing 101, emphasizing the importance of learning what it takes to be a hero. Izuku internally questioned All Might's understanding of true heroism. All Might then introduced a new activity, and multiple suitcases ejected from the wall, prompting the students to change into their hero costumes. As they donned their outfits, Izuku's friends commented on their appearances. Ida inquired about Izuku's costume, to which Izuku revealed his morpher, explaining that his costume was stored inside. Ochako complimented Izuku's Green Ranger costume, noting her own outfit's tight fit, which made her blush. Izuku also felt a flush at the sight of her. All Might praised the students, albeit with a pointed look at Izuku. He explained the day's activity, where teams would be formed to play heroes and villains, with the villain team guarding a fake bomb. When the teams were announced, Izuku was told he would not participate due to being quirkless, and his sister Izumi would take his place. Kirishima protested, insisting Izuku had a quirk, but Inko affirmed that he was quirkless and treated him accordingly. Izuku argued against being treated differently, asserting that his lack of a quirk shouldn't define his worth. All Might growled in response, and Izumi intervened, urging everyone to avoid conflict. "Dad!" exclaimed the rest of the class. "You two are All Might's and Green Magnet's kids?" Kaminari said, surprised. "She's their kid, but not me," Izuku said, pointing to Izumi with his thumb. "We are your parents, boy, and you will do as we say," All Might stated firmly. "Oh, I don't think so," a voice interrupted. Everyone turned to see Nizu and Aizawa standing in the doorway. "Izuku Yagi earned his place here like everyone else. He will be participating in this training whether you two like it or not. If you two won't let him participate, then you're both fired," Nizu declared. All Might and Inko grumbled. "Fine," they both said reluctantly. "But now I believe Izuku Yagi was supposed to be paired up with Ms. Uraraka? Now why don't you pick the villain team, All Might? And don't go picking favorites now, got that?" Nizu instructed. All Might reached into the box. "The villain team is Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida," he announced. After that, Izuku and Ochako stood outside the building. "Kaken's gonna come for us first." "That's what he does," Izuku said. "Oh, you mean like yesterday when his sister, your sister, and the Todoroki twins were going to attack us?" Ochako replied. "Yeah, pretty much," Izuku agreed. "All right, begin," shouted All Might from the speaker. Izuku and Ochako entered the building. "Careful. There are a lot of blind spots," Izuku warned. As Izuku looked around the corner, Katsuki suddenly appeared and launched an explosion at them. Izuku tackled Ochako, moving her out of the way just in time. They both blushed when they realized their position but quickly got back. "It's morphin time," Izuku declared as he whipped out his morpher. "Dragon Z!" he shouted as he morphed into the Green Ranger. Izuku charged at Katsuki, delivering a punch to his face and a kick to his stomach, sending him crashing into a wall. "I'll get you, Deku!" Katsuki yelled furiously. "I'm not Deku anymore. I'm the Green Ranger. And I'm here to take you down," Izuku proclaimed. Katsuki charged at Izuku, but Izuku grabbed him by the face and slammed him into the ground. Uraraka, get to the bomb. I'll hold him off. Izuku instructed. On it. Ochako replied as she headed upstairs. Katsuki got back up and attempted to punch Izuku, but Izuku skillfully countered with his martial arts. Katsuki aimed his gauntlet at Izuku. All loaded up, he said with a wild grin. What do you mean? Izuku asked, confused. Since you're such a fanboy, you should know that my quirk allows me to secrete nitroglycerin-like sweat from my palms and create explosions, Katsuki explained. I know. That's Katsumi's quirk too, Izuku responded. These gauntlets aren't just for show. Once they have enough sweat stored up, they can create one massive explosion. Katsuki said, preparing to pull the pin. Meanwhile, in the control room, a blast that big could seriously hurt Izuku. Izumi exclaimed. Everyone started panicking, except for All Might, Inko, Katsumi, and the Todoroki twins. Izumi rushed to the controls. Katsuki, stop. You'll hurt him, she shouted into the speaker, but All Might pulled her away. What are you doing? He whispered urgently. He's going to hurt Izuku. Izumi insisted. So what? He'll be doing the world a favor, All Might whispered back. Back with Izuku and Katsuki. Katsuki pulled the pin from the gauntlet, and the explosion was fired at Izuku. Just before it hit, Izuku pulled out his dagger and began playing a tune. When the explosion hit, the melody continued. Katsuki was bewildered, and when the smoke cleared, he saw Izuku standing there, completely unharmed, still playing the tune, with his chest piece glowing. What the? Katsuki shouted in disbelief. Back in the control room. How did he even survive that? Katsumi exclaimed. Damn it. That quirkless kid lives. All Might and Inko thought simultaneously, while Izumi felt relieved. Back with Izuku and Katsuki. You best die. Katsuki screamed as he unleashed a flurry of explosions at Izuku, but his chest piece protected him. Izuku approached Katsuki while continuing the tune, as Katsuki fired explosions and began to retreat. Soon, Katsuki found himself cornered against a wall. Eat this, he yelled, attempting to punch Izuku with all his might, but Izuku stopped his fist and twisted it. Just like yesterday. Katsuki shouted in frustration. Izuku then headbutted Katsuki, knocking him out. After that, he headed upstairs to find Ochako battling Ida. You will never stop me, heroes. MW. Ida laughed maniacally. He's really doing this? Izuku asked, astonished. He's really doing this, Ochako confirmed. Ida prepared to kick Izuku, but Izuku swiftly grabbed his leg and threw him into a pillar, knocking him out as well. Ah man, I wanted to take him down. Ochako complained. How about I let you do the honors? Izuku suggested, pointing to the bomb. Sure thing, Ochako said as she walked over to the bomb and touched it. The horn then went off, signaling that the fight was over. The hero team wins. All Might announced through the speaker. After that, Izuku unmorphed, and they returned to the control room. Ochako made Ida weightless, and they brought him with them, leaving Katsuki for All Might to retrieve. Katsuki entered the room with a broken nose. You okay, bro? Katsumi asked. Does it look like I am? Katsuki tried to say. All right, students, who here did the best during training? Inko asked, pointing to Izuku, Ochako, Katsuki, and Ida, who had woken up by then. Momo raised her hand. Yes. You? Inko acknowledged. I believe that would be Izuku Yagi. He ensured the damage wasn't too extensive, and his quick thinking helped him and Uraraka win the match, Momo stated. That is, unfortunately, correct, Inko replied. After that, everyone else completed their training. Izumi, Katsumi, and the Todoroki twins won their matches easily, while Katsuki remained frustrated that he didn't win against Izuku. Once the school day was over, they all went home. Izuku approached Tommy's house in Reefside early one morning. He knocked on the door and was greeted by Tommy. Hey, Izuku, what brings you here so early? Tommy asked. Well, from my point of view, it's still nighttime in Japan. But I just wanted to thank you for everything you and the other Rangers have done for me. Yesterday, I finally got to defeat Kakin in training, Izuku said. Well, that's great. Why don't you come on in? Tommy invited. Sure. But I can't stay long. I've got class tomorrow in Japan, Izuku replied as he entered the house. They sat at the kitchen table. You boys want any pancakes? Kimberly asked. Sure, Izuku replied. That'd be great, Han, Tommy added. Kimberly placed 2 plates on the table and added pancakes to them. Suddenly, a kid around the same age as Izuku entered the kitchen. He resembled Tommy but also had some of Kimberly's features, with dark brown hair and brown eyes. Morning, the kid said. Morning, James. What do you want on your pancakes? Kimberly asked. I'll just have some syrup, James replied. James was about to sit at the table when he noticed Izuku sitting there. Who's this? James asked, pointing to Izuku. This is Izuku Yagi. He's the new Green Ranger we've been telling you about, Tommy explained. Oh, sick. I'm James. I'm the guy who's going to be the new White Ranger. James exclaimed. I know. Your parents have told me a lot about you, James, Izuku said as he stood up and shook James's hand. All right, boys, let's sit down and have breakfast. You've both got to get to school soon, Kimberly said. After that, Izuku, James, Tommy, and Kimberly all sat at the table and enjoyed breakfast. Izuku felt at home. Eating breakfast with the Olivers reminded him of his life with his parents and sister before he was diagnosed as quirkless. When his parents found out he was quirkless, they stopped making food for him, so he had to learn how to cook for himself. But the pancakes Kimberly made tasted amazing, just like the ones his mom used to make. He and James discussed various heroes and rangers, debating who would win in a fight. He and Izumi used to talk about similar things, discussing who they would defeat once they got their quirks. But when Izuku was declared quirkless, she would always say he would lose against anyone, including her. Tommy shared stories about the adventures he, Kimberly, and the other Rangers had experienced together, much like when his dad would tell him and Izumi stories about their own adventures. Izuku felt a sense of happiness. After they finished eating, Kimberly put the plates and silverware in the dishwasher. Before you go home, Izuku, I want to show you something real quick, Tommy said. Tommy led Izuku to a table that had a small model of a T-Rex on it. He pulled on the lower jaw of the model, and suddenly a trap door opened from the floor, revealing a hidden stairwell. Whoa, Izuku said, amazed. Whoa indeed, Tommy agreed. They descended the stairs and entered a large room filled with computer monitors, vehicles, and various other items. This is our base of operations. Well, besides the command center, of course. I thought I'd show it to you since you're officially a ranger now, Tommy explained. Sick, Izuku remarked. Izuku walked over to a collection of pictures on the wall. Some featured Tommy and his family, while others showed him with the ranger teams he had been part of. He looked at the first picture, which was of Tommy and the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I take it the one in yellow is Trini? Izuku asked. Yeah. She was one of the best rangers I've ever fought beside, Tommy replied. Izuku examined the next picture, which included Tommy, Jason, Adam, and the other Zeo Rangers. Jason was the Gold Zeo Ranger? Izuku inquired. Yeah. When we needed extra help fighting the Machine Empire, Jason came back to take on the powers of the Gold Ranger, Tommy explained. Who are the other 3 in this picture? Izuku asked. The Blue Zeo Ranger is Rocky DeSantos, who was also the second Mighty Morphin Red Ranger. The Yellow Zeo Ranger is Tanya Sloan, who was also the first Yellow Turbo Ranger. And the Pink Zeo Ranger is Catherine Hillard, but we called her Cat. She was also the second Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger and the first Pink Turbo Ranger, Tommy detailed. Hey, you never explained to me why Jason, Zach, and Trini left, Izuku said. Well, you see, they won a contest to attend a World Peace Conference to help make the world a better place. So Zordon called in Rocky, Adam, and another girl named Aisha Campbell to take their places. They already knew we were Power Rangers because Lord Zed had kidnapped them once, and we had to save them. They saw us without our helmets on but agreed to keep it a secret. They had tons of training and good hearts, so Zordon knew they were perfect to take Jason, Zach, and Trini's places, Tommy explained. Why did Kimberly leave? Izuku asked. She got the chance to become a world-class gymnast, and we knew she deserved to follow her dreams. Kat was a girl who had been under mind control by Rita and sent to spy on us. Eventually, we freed her from Rita's spell, and she was able to retrieve Kimberly's power coin when it was lost. So Kimberly knew Kat was perfect to take her place. Kimberly thought a long-distance relationship wouldn't be the best idea, so she sent me a letter, Tommy said. I'm so sorry, Tommy, Izuku expressed. It's fine. You know we got back together eventually. Otherwise, James wouldn't be here. But yeah, we were apart for a while. Me and Kat actually dated during that time, Tommy shared. How did you guys become the Zeo Rangers, though? Izuku asked. When Rita Repulsa's father, Lord Vile, came to help her and Lord Zed, he sent his son Rito Repulsa to Angel Grove with Golder. They used a device to turn back time and turn us all into kids. Me, Zordon, Alpha, and the other Rangers were the only ones whose memories weren't altered by the device. Since we were stuck as kids, we couldn't morph. So we called upon the help of the alien Rangers from the planet Aquitar. They defended Angel Grove while we tried to find a way to fix time and turn back into teenagers. Billy was able to turn himself back into a teen, but he still couldn't morph because Rito managed to destroy the power coins. Then the rest of us traveled back in time to certain moments throughout history to retrieve parts of the Zeo crystal. Aisha went back in time to Africa, where she met Tanya, and she decided to stay there to help sick animals and have Tanya take her place. When we each got back to our time, we managed to reset time to the way it was before and turn ourselves back into teenagers. After that, we said goodbye to the Aquitar Rangers. But then Rito and Golder snuck into the command center and placed a bomb inside it, causing a massive explosion. They managed to teleport outside just in time. While rummaging through the wreckage, they discovered the Zeo crystal, which was completely undamaged. When they fell down to the lower levels of the command center, they found that Zordon and Alpha were still alive. Zordon and Alpha were then able to restore the command center, making it better than before. During that time, the Machine Empire came and overthrew Rita and Zed, forcing them and their minions to leave their moon base and go live with Lord Vile. After that, they became the Power Rangers Zeo. There were only 5 Zeo crystals, so Billy decided to retire from being a ranger and stay back at the command center to assist Zordon and Alpha with other tasks. However, he later left as well when it turned out he was suffering from accelerated aging due to a decision he made in their childhood. He went to Aquitar to undergo treatment that would cure him, and they didn't see him again for a while. Eventually, Jason returned and became the Gold Zeo Ranger, but later they discovered that the Gold Zeo powers weren't meant for humans to use, so he eventually lost those abilities. However, he regained them later when Zordon, Alpha, and Billy found a way to make the Gold Ranger powers compatible with humans. Now, Jason had the Gold Zeo Ranger stored in his Master Morpher. Tommy shared this information with enthusiasm. Izuku noted that Jason's morpher looked similar to Tommy's. Tommy continued, explaining that not long after Jason lost his powers, they defeated the leader of the Machine Empire, King Mondo, and the Machine Empire was mostly destroyed. A few of their generals survived, but he, Jason, and several other Red Rangers defeated them a few years later. Izuku then spotted another picture. It featured Tommy, Adam, Tanya, Catherine, and a young boy, all as the Turbo Rangers. Inquired about the story behind the Turbo Rangers. Tommy explained that they had just graduated high school and had one final mission before heading off to college. An evil space pirate named Divatox sought to summon a demon named Dark Spectre to marry and take over the universe, but Dark Spectre rejected her. Zordon bestowed upon them the powers of the Turbo Rangers along with new Carzords, preparing them to take on Divatox. Rocky had been injured, so Zordon brought in a young boy named Justin Stewart to take his place as the Blue Turbo Ranger. Justin was the youngest ranger they had ever had, joining at just 12 years old. Izuku expressed disbelief that they had brought in a child to be a Power Ranger. Tommy explained that they were initially uncomfortable with the idea, but Zordon believed Justin would be a good fit due to his intelligence and quick thinking. Justin had already figured out their identities as Power Rangers and had helped defeat numerous enemies. Now, he fought villains as the pro-hero, the Blue Turbo Ranger. Tommy continued, sharing that eventually he, Adam, Catherine, and Tanya left for college and passed on their Turbo Morphers to 4 new individuals. He passed the mantle of Red Turbo Ranger to a guy named TJ Johnson. Catherine passed the Pink Turbo Ranger mantle to Cassie Chan. Adam passed the Green Turbo Ranger mantle to Carlos Valeroot, and Tanya passed the Yellow Turbo Ranger mantle to Ashley Hammond. Together with Justin, they protected Angel Grove from Divatox until she and her minions blew up the command center and Dark Spectre kidnapped Zordon. After that, they, along with Alpha, ventured into space to rescue him, although Justin stayed behind. In space, they met a man named Andrus, the Red Space Ranger, who was human but not born on Earth. They learned that humans existed on other planets as well. They joined Andrus and became the Space Power Rangers, with TJ becoming the Blue Space Ranger, Cassie the Pink Space Ranger, Ashley the Yellow Space Ranger, and Carlos the Black Space Ranger. Later, Jane, the Silver Space Ranger and Andrus's best friend, was awakened from a coma after being frozen for 2 years and joined the fight. Together, they battled an evil woman named Astronema, who they later discovered was Andrus's long-lost sister. Eventually, they found Zordon, but Andrus had to sacrifice him to save the universe. He shattered the tube Zordon was in with his sword, creating a blast across the universe that restored many villains to their true forms, including Rita and Lord Zed, who returned to their normal, non-evil selves. Izuku expressed disbelief that Zordon could have died, having seen him many times. Tommy reassured him that years later, they discovered Zordon wasn't actually gone, nor were the power coins or the command center. It turned out Zordon was caught in another time warp and couldn't return to their universe for many years. He managed to restore the command center. As for the power coins, Alpha had been able to reconstruct Jason's, but he couldn't do the same for the others. Fortunately, Zordon was able to with Ninja's assistance, as he was the creator of the power coins. They learned Zordon was still alive when he teleported them back to the command center, right after Tommy and Kimberly had gotten married. He returned their power coins and morphers, and they decided to become the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once again. Izuku admired the story, and then he noticed another picture, this one featuring an older Tommy with the Dino Thunder Rangers. He recognized the individuals in the image, noting Connor McKnight, a world-famous soccer player, Kira Ford, a renowned singer and guitarist, Ethan James, the CEO of a major computer company, and Trent Fernandez Mercer, a famous comic book writer and illustrator whose Power Ranger comics Izuku had read and loved. Tommy explained that they were his students when he taught at Reefside High, before they discovered Zordon was still alive. He shared that he had been a paleontologist for a long time, working with someone named Anton Mercer, who was Trent's adoptive father. They were on the verge of something significant when Anton accidentally transformed into an evil creature named Mesogog, who aimed to restore the Earth to the prehistoric era. Tommy was a teacher at Reefside High, and Connor, Kira, and Ethan were his students. After they had all done something to earn detention, the principal, who was later revealed to be one of Mesogog's minions, assigned Tommy to supervise them. He took them to a dinosaur museum located nearby and told them that if they ventured into the woods to find a prehistoric artifact, he would let them skip detention. They eagerly set off into the woods. As Tommy approached the museum, he discovered that it had been purchased by Anton Mercer. Shortly after, he found himself being pursued by a giant robotic T-Rex. Meanwhile, Connor, Ethan, and Kira discovered the original version of a base, along with the Dino Gems. When they picked them up, the Dino Gems recognized their worthiness and granted them powers. Connor gained super speed, Ethan received armored skin, and Kira acquired a sonic scream. Tommy explained that those powers were what the public initially believed were just quirks. Soon after, Mesogog began attacking the town, prompting Tommy to give the students Dino Morphers, transforming them into the Dino Thunder Rangers. Eventually, Tommy accessed the Black Dino Gem and used it, along with the Black Dino Morpher, to become the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. Later, Trent discovered his father's evil lair and found the White Dino Gem, which took control of him, similar to how Rita had once controlled Tommy. Fortunately, Trent was eventually freed from the White Dino Gem's influence and joined the team as a loyal ranger. Together, they defeated Mesogog, and the students graduated high school, each going their separate ways. However, they later reunited to protect Reefside as the Dino Thunder Rangers. Izuku then teleported home, arriving near UA and entering the school. He made his way to his classroom and sat at his desk. Aizawa entered the room and announced that the class would be going to a disaster training facility. However, they needed to choose a class president first, and he instructed them to decide without waking him up. The students began to call out their intentions to be elected, with Katsuki and Katsumi loudly insisting they should be chosen. Ida suggested they put it to a vote, and after the votes were cast, Izuku was elected class president, with Momo as vice president. Katsuki and Katsumi were shocked by the results, demanding to know who voted for Izuku. Izuku, feeling unworthy, offered to let Ida take the position instead. Afterward, they went to lunch, where Izuku sat with Ochako and Ida. Ida expressed gratitude for being allowed to be class president, to which Izuku replied that Ida was more suited for the role. Excitement filled the air as Ochako looked forward to the training facility, noting how perfect her quirk was for the upcoming exercises. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the school, causing chaos as students rushed out of the cafeteria and into the hallways. Izuku, Ochako, and Ida found themselves caught in the crowd. Izuku looked out the window and saw the media outside. He called out to his classmates, trying to calm them down, while Ida attempted to get everyone's attention by floating above the crowd with Ochako's help. Once the students realized it was just the media, they settled down and returned to their classes. Class 1A boarded a bus and headed to the USJ. Tsu asked Izuku about his quirk, and he explained that it allowed him to HRSS the power of the morphing grid, enabling him to transform into a Power Ranger. He added that other Rangers had similar quirks, which was why they recruited him. Tsu inquired about his Dragonzord, and Izuku elaborated that he could summon it with his dagger, as it also utilized the morphing grid's power. Upon arriving at the training facility, they were greeted by the rescue hero. Ochako fangirled over meeting one of her favorite heroes, and Izuku admired her enthusiasm. 13 welcomed the students to the unforeseen simulation joint, explaining that it was designed for training in natural disasters and rescue operations. Aizawa approached 13, asking about All Might and Green Magnet, who were supposed to be present. 13 informed him that they were dealing with a situation across town and did not know when they would return. Before 13 could continue, the lights began to flicker. A cloud of black mist appeared at the bottom of the stairs, and multiple villains emerged from it. Kirishima excitedly commented on the presence of fake villains, but Aizawa quickly warned everyone that they were real and instructed 13 to protect the students as he prepared to confront the villains. The villains introduced themselves as the League of Villains. They were hoping for All Might to arrive, but the villain with hands all over his body declared that they would have to deal with a few students until then. Suddenly, multiple warp gates opened around the students. A pair of hands reached through one of the gates and grabbed Ochako, pulling her through. Izuku shouted in alarm as he grabbed her hand, trying to pull her back, but ended up getting pulled in with her. They found themselves in the landslide section. Izuku asked if she was okay, and Ochako assured him she was fine. However, a voice warned them that she wouldn't be for long. Turning around, they saw a group of villains standing there. Izuku declared it was time to morph, removing his morpher from his belt and transforming into the Green Ranger. The villains were shocked to see a Power Ranger. Izuku and Ochako charged at the villains. Izuku took down half of them with his dragon dagger, while Ochako levitated the others into the air before dropping them hard onto the ground. Ochako asked Izuku what they should do about the remaining villains, and he had an idea. He activated his wrist communicator, calling out to Zordon in the command center. Zordon reassured him that help was on the way. After that, they made their way to the center of the USJ, where they saw Aizawa struggling against a monstrous abomination. Izuku karate kicked the creature, while Ochako made Aizawa weightless and carried him away from danger. Aizawa thanked her weakly, and she told him not to mention it. As the creature swung its fist at Izuku, he dodged and delivered a powerful uppercut. One of the villains, Shigaraki, shouted that a student had escaped and would return with reinforcements. Izuku revealed that he had already called for backup. Frustrated, Shigaraki lunged at Izuku, but Izuku punched him, knocking the hand off Shigaraki's face. Upon seeing Shigaraki's face, Izuku felt a strange familiarity, recalling a picture of his uncle Kotaro from years ago. Shigaraki screamed for his father as he frantically put the hand back on his face, and Izuku was taken aback, questioning what he meant. Suddenly, flashes of color erupted as Tommy, Kimberly, Jason, Zack, Billy, the Zeo Rangers, and the Dino Thunder Rangers appeared, fully morphed and ready for action. Tommy announced that everything would be all right now that the Power Rangers were there. Shigaraki was furious at the arrival of more Rangers, but Tommy warned him to leave the students alone or face the consequences. The villains charged at Tommy and the Rangers, who charged back. Izuku returned to Aizawa, asking if he was all right. Aizawa weakly replied that he was fine, but Izuku insisted on helping the other Rangers, despite Ochako's protests. Meanwhile, Kirishima and Katsuki had just escaped the ruin zone. Katsuki, filled with rage, lunged at the Nomu but was thrown into a wall, knocking him unconscious. Kirishima noticed Jason struggling against a group of villains and summoned the Power Sword to help him. Jason managed to take down a few more villains but was soon overwhelmed. Just as the villains were about to finish him off, Kirishima intervened, taking them down with his hardened fists. Kirishima offered his hand to help Jason up, introducing himself. Jason thanked him, acknowledging that he owed him one. Meanwhile, Ochako felt compelled to help the Rangers as well. Despite Aizawa's protests, she left to assist them. She found Kimberly outnumbered and summoned her power bow, shooting down multiple villains. Just as one villain snuck up behind Kimberly, Ochako kicked him away, saving her. Kimberly thanked Ochako and recognized her as someone Izuku had spoken about. Ochako blushed at the compliment. Back with Izuku and Tommy, Izuku expressed concern about the overwhelming number of villains. Tommy decided it was time to shift into a new gear, pulling out his Master Morpher. He transformed into the Red Turbo Ranger and began to fight back, using his laser pistol against the enemies. As the Nomu charged at him, Tommy morphed into the Black Dino Thunder Ranger and used the Brachio staff to blast the creature back. Suddenly, the doors to the USJ blasted open, signaling a new turn in the battle. A booming voice echoed, demanding to know why. Izuku muttered under his breath in response, feeling a mix of annoyance and anticipation. All Might appeared dramatically, flanked by Inko, Ida, and the other teachers. From the bottom of the stairs, Izuku declared that they had already beaten the villains to it, catching All Might off guard. Suddenly, a large group of villains charged at Tommy, Izuku, and the others. The Dino Thunder Rangers stepped forward, transforming with a shout of Super Dino Mode, as spikes emerged from their bodies. The villains were taken aback before being swiftly defeated by the Rangers. Meanwhile, Ida was in a panic, realizing his classmates were in danger. Despite not having his license yet, he felt compelled to act. Just then, a warp gate opened beside him, pulling him into the fray before the teachers could intervene. Ida found himself in the midst of battle, facing Shigaraki directly. Shigaraki threatened the UA students, but before he could attack Ida, Billy intervened, kicking Shigaraki away. Billy summoned his power lance, urging Ida to escape while he held off the villain. However, hearing Billy's distress, Ida rushed back and kicked Shigaraki, surprising him. Ida then launched Shigaraki back with a powerful move, helping Billy to his feet and checking on him. Billy recognized Ida's name and acknowledged his lineage, expressing gratitude for the assistance. The two exchanged names, solidifying their newfound alliance. Meanwhile, Tommy transformed into the Red Zeo Ranger, taking down villains with his sword while Izuku fought alongside him. Jason joined the battle as the Gold Zeo Ranger, and together with the Zeo Rangers, they charged at the next wave of enemies. In another part of the battlefield, Tokoyami and Koda emerged from the downpour storm zone, witnessing the Rangers in action. Koda went to assist the injured while Tokoyami noticed Zack struggling against multiple villains. Zack summoned his power axe, but a large villain overpowered him. Just as it seemed hopeless, Tokoyami and Dark Shadow intervened, knocking the villain out and helping Zack to his feet. Back with Tommy, he transformed into the White Ranger and prepared to unleash a powerful attack on the Nomu. However, All Might intervened, defeating the creature with a punch that sent it soaring into the sky. All Might proclaimed his victory, much to Tommy's frustration, who felt he had the situation under control. As the villains began to retreat, Shigaraki ordered Kurogiri to create warp gates for their escape. The remaining villains were apprehended by the police, with All Might receiving the credit for the victory. In the aftermath, Shigaraki vented his frustration by smashing glasses against the wall, blaming the Power Rangers for their failure. Just then, a portal opened, revealing an ominous Power Ranger who offered assistance. Shigaraki, in a fit of rage, lunged at the newcomer but was swiftly subdued. The Ranger introduced himself as someone from another universe, explaining his mission to conquer worlds and eliminate Power Ranger teams. He proposed a partnership to Shigaraki, suggesting they work together to defeat the Rangers and take over the world. Shigaraki expressed skepticism, but the Ranger insisted on discussing the plan further. As he departed through another portal, he revealed his name, Lord Draken. Days later, Izuku practiced his karate moves at the Angel Grove Youth Center when Tommy approached him. Izuku apologized for his father's actions during the recent events, but Tommy reassured him that it was all right, as they were not accustomed to such attention. But listen, there's a project I've been working on for a while now back at the Dino Thunder HQ. Tommy invited Izuku to stop by later, mentioning it was something special for him. Izuku agreed but was interrupted when his watch began beeping. Zordon's voice came through, informing Izuku that Principal Nizu and Mr. Aizawa were at his house and needed to speak with him about something important. Izuku acknowledged the message and quickly excused himself from Tommy, promising to return later to see the project. Once home, Izuku found his parents and sister engaged in conversation with Nizu and Aizawa in the living room. Nizu welcomed Izuku to sit down, and once everyone was gathered, he began to explain the situation. After the recent attack on the USJ, Nizu shared that they had decided to set up dorm rooms at UA for added safety. He requested permission for Izuku and his sister to live there, assuring them that the League of Villains would not be able to breach UA's enhanced security. Izumi expressed her agreement, and Izuku eagerly supported the idea as well. Tashinori also approved, leading Nizu to present a form for them to sign. With the paperwork completed, Izuku and Izumi moved into the dorms the next day, joining their classmates. Izuku settled into the common room, scrolling through his phone while others chatted nearby. Mina proposed a dorm room competition, and Izuku found himself the first contestant, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. Entering his room, they noticed it was rather sparse, containing only a bed, a desk with a computer, and a shelf displaying a few Power Ranger action figures alongside a picture of Izuku with some friends. Ochako and Ida recognized the figures as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, recalling how they had been saved during the USJ incident. As they continued exploring the dorms, they noticed Izumi's room was filled with All Might and Green Magnet merchandise. Mina pointed out the contrast between Izumi's collection and Izuku's minimalistic setup, prompting Izuku to request not to be called by his last name and to avoid discussing it further. After returning to the common room, Mina announced that Sato had won the competition, leading to playful banter among the group before they all headed to bed. Meanwhile, Shigaraki introduced Lord Draken to All for One, who expressed interest in Draken's proposition to join forces against the Power Rangers and All Might. However, when Gigantomachia lunged at Draken, he was swiftly overpowered, prompting AFO to reconsider the alliance. Later, Izuku was on his way back to the dorms after grabbing a bite to eat when he encountered a frightened girl with white hair and bandages. As he crouched down to check on her, a man wearing gloves and a bird mask approached, apologizing for the girl's injuries. Sensing danger, Izuku stood protectively in front of the girl and transformed into the Green Ranger, ready to confront the masked man. As the confrontation escalated, Izuku dodged attacks and countered with impressive moves, ultimately forcing the man to retreat, vowing to return for the girl. After the encounter, Izuku comforted the girl, introducing himself and assuring her that she would be safe now. She revealed her name was Eri, and he promised to take her somewhere safe, leading her back to UA. He entered the teacher's lounge with Eri, where the teachers were gathered. Inko expressed her concern, questioning why Izuku had a child with him. All Might also demanded to know if he had kidnapped her. Nizu intervened, asking who the child was. Izuku explained that Eri was someone he had encountered on his way back to the dorms. He had rescued her from a man who was hurting her, and although the man had escaped, he brought Eri to UA for her safety. Nizu agreed that Eri could stay at UA until they found someone to care for her. Eri, however, insisted on staying with Izuku, burying her face into his leg. Izuku noted that she felt comfortable with him since he was the one who saved her. Nizu decided to prepare adoption papers for Izuku and arrange for a second bed in his dorm room. Inko exclaimed that she was too young to be a grandmother, to which Izuku clarified that she was not Eri's grandmother. He then turned to All Might, asserting that he was not Eri's grandfather either and requested that both of them keep their distance from her. Afterward, Izuku and Aizawa, who was bandaged from the recent incident at USJ, brought Eri to the dorms. Upon entering, they were greeted by their classmates, who quickly noticed the child with Izuku. Ida asked about her identity, and Izuku introduced Eri as the girl he had rescued and agreed to adopt. Aizawa reminded everyone that Eri would be living with them now, so they needed to avoid inappropriate language around her. Izumi asked if this meant she was now an aunt, but Izuku firmly told her to stay away from Eri, as well as the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. Ochako introduced herself to Eri, who looked at her curiously and asked if she was her mommy, causing both Izuku and Ochako to blush. Aizawa suggested setting up Eri's bed in Izuku's room. The class helped set up a second bed in Izuku's room, with Momo providing pink bedsheets and stuffed animals for Eri. Ochako and the girls then went out to buy clothes for Eri. While at the store, Mina teased Ochako about her feelings for Izuku, noting how red her face was when Eri asked if she was her mommy. Katsumi, Shoka, and Izumi tossed some clothes to them, but Ochako pointed out that they were all themed after All Might and Green Magnet, which Izuku disliked. They decided to buy non-themed clothes instead and returned to the dorms. Once back, Eri tried on the new clothes and loved them. She shared her experiences with the pros, explaining how Overhaul and the Yakuza had been using her blood to create quirk-erasing bullets due to her ability to rewind people to earlier ages. The pros agreed to raid the Yakuza base and apprehend Overhaul and the 8 precepts of death once they obtained a warrant. That night, as Izuku lay in bed, Eri asked if she could cuddle with him. He agreed, and Eri climbed into bed with him, and they cuddled together as they fell asleep. Meanwhile, Overhaul was furious about Izuku having Eri and expressed his frustration to the other precepts of death. Just then, a voice offered assistance, and they turned to see Lord Draken stepping out of a portal. Overhaul, mistaking him for an enemy, lunged at Draken but was swiftly knocked aside. Draken introduced himself and proposed a partnership. If Overhaul helped him destroy the Power Rangers in this world, he would help retrieve Eri. Overhaul reluctantly agreed, wanting his child back. The next day, Izuku teleported to the command center, where Tommy and the others awaited him. He announced that he was a dad, which shocked the Rangers. Kimberly questioned who the mother was, but Izuku clarified that Eri was not his biological daughter, he had adopted her. He explained how he found Eri in an alleyway, rescued her from a villain, and planned to officially adopt her soon. Jason asked if Eri had a mother, to which Izuku replied that he would be raising her on his own. Zack noted the responsibility Izuku was taking on, but Izuku expressed confidence in his ability to handle it, having faced villains before. Tommy offered support, reminding him that parenting is challenging. Izuku promised to reach out for help if needed and teleported back to UA. Upon arrival, he encountered reporters outside the school, who questioned him about being the son of the #1 hero. Izuku clarified that the man was not his father and pushed through the crowd to enter the classroom. Aizawa arrived shortly after, ready to address the class. In a few weeks, they would be having the sports festival, Aizawa announced. Ida expressed concern, questioning if it was truly a good idea since they had just been attacked by villains. Aizawa reassured them, stating that they wanted to show the public they were not afraid. For the next 2 weeks, they would be training hard. Afterward, they had lunch together at a table. Ochako eagerly shared her excitement for the festival, seeing it as their chance to prove themselves to the world. Ida chimed in, expressing his desire to make his family proud. Izuku was curious about what Ida meant, leading to the revelation that Ingenium, a well-known hero, was his elder brother. Both Izuku and Ochako were astonished. Ida shared his aspiration to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a hero. Ochako felt a bit guilty about her own reasons for wanting to be a hero. When Izuku asked her why, she hesitated before explaining that her parents ran a construction company that was struggling financially. She wanted to earn money to support them, which she acknowledged might seem selfish. Ida reassured her that wanting to be financially stable was perfectly fine, and Izuku understood her motivation. As the school day ended, they prepared to leave the classroom, only to find a group of students from other classes blocking the way. Katsuki and Katsumi shouted for them to move aside. Ida defended his classmates, pointing out that just because they were unfamiliar with the other students didn't mean they could disrespect them. One student with blonde hair accused Class 1A of thinking they were superior because of the villain attack, while another declared a sort of rivalry. After school, Izuku returned to the command center, seeking help for the upcoming sports festival. Zordon informed him that he was already aware of the event and had contacted several rangers willing to assist with training. Izuku felt relieved. He teleported to Silver Hills, where Tommy had asked him to meet at the Silver Guardians HQ. Upon arrival, he found Tommy waiting outside. Tommy explained that he had arranged for Izuku to train with a legendary ranger team, specifically the leaders of the Silver Guardians, who had offered their state-of-the-art training facilities. Inside the building, they ascended to a large room where 6 individuals awaited them. The first man introduced himself as Wesley Collins, and his wife, Jennifer, followed suit. The others introduced themselves as Trip, Lucas, Katie, and Eric, while a robot owl named Circuit also joined in the introductions. Izuku was amazed to learn that they were the Time Force Rangers, who had once saved Silver Hills from a villain named Rancic. Wes explained that they had come to help Izuku prepare for the sports festival. The room they were in was a VR simulation designed for training. Tommy wished Izuku luck before leaving. Wes instructed Izuku to morph before they began training. Izuku complied, transforming into his ranger form. Trip activated the dojo simulation, and the environment shifted to resemble a dojo. Wes stepped forward, ready to spar with Izuku. He summoned his chrono sabers, while Izuku readied his dragon dagger. The two charged at each other, engaging in a friendly yet intense training session. Izuku managed to gain the upper hand, demonstrating his determination and skill. "Good job, Izuku," Wes acknowledged as he helped him up. "Thanks," Izuku replied, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "My turn," Jen declared as she stepped forward. "Vortex Blaster," she shouted, and a massive, futuristic-looking gun appeared in her arms. She fired the Vortex Blaster at Izuku, but he played a tune with the Dragon Dagger, enhancing the protection of his chest piece. Charging at Jen while still playing the tune, he knocked her into a wall. "I yield." "Well done, kid," Jen admitted, conceding defeat. After that, Izuku faced the other 4 Time Force Rangers. Trip, Katie, and Lucas posed a similar challenge as Wes and Jen, though Katie proved to be a bit tougher with her super strength. Eric, however, was quite the challenge. His Quantum Defender was a powerful weapon against the Dragon Dagger, but eventually, Izuku managed to overcome him. "Alright, Izuku, it's time for your final challenge. This time, you're going to fight all of us at once," Wes announced. "Okay," Izuku responded, feeling a bit nervous now. "Circuit, activate city simulation," Wes instructed the robot owl. Circuit replied. The simulation transformed into a bustling city plaza. The Rangers all pulled out their weapons, and Izuku readied his. "Let's do this," he declared. "Begin," Wes shouted as they charged at Izuku, who charged right back at them. "Time strike." Wes, Jen, and Lucas shouted as the other 3 launched themselves into the air. They swung their chrono sabers down on Izuku, sending him flying back. Izuku retreated and hid in one of the virtual buildings. "We're going to find you, kid," Eric called out. "Let's split up and look for him," Jen suggested as they dispersed. Izuku snuck behind Trip and knocked him out. He then picked up Trip's Vortex Blaster and stealthily approached Katie and Lucas. They heard the blaster powering up and turned around, but before they could react, Izuku stunned them with the blaster. He then climbed to the roof of a virtual 2-story building and spotted Eric below. With a swift leap, he landed on Eric, knocking him out. "There you are," Wes exclaimed as he and Jen charged up their vortex blasters. Izuku played the tune with his dagger, blocking the shots fired at him as he charged at them. He then grabbed both of them and knocked their heads together, rendering them unconscious. "Izuku wins," Circuit announced. Afterward, Izuku waited for them all to regain consciousness. "What happened?" Lucas groaned. "Sorry if I was a little too rough on you all," Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. "No, it's fine. We're glad you didn't hold back. You're ready for the sports festival now," Wes assured him. Soon after, Tommy arrived to pick up Izuku, and he headed home. Izuku and the others arrived at the sports festival arena, entering the massive coliseum filled with thousands of spectators. And here they are. Back from fighting villains, it's Class 1A. Present, Mike announced through the speaker. Also with us, they may not have their time to shine yet, but they're still a force to be reckoned with. It's Class 1B. Mike continued as Class 1B entered the arena. Also with us are Classes C, D, and E from the General Studies course, as well as Classes F, G, and H from the Support Department, and Classes I, J, and K from the Department of Management. Mike exclaimed as those classes entered the arena as well. Midnight stood on a podium in the center of the arena, cracking her whip to silence the crowd. "We will now have Izumi Yagi recite the first year's pledge for us," Midnight announced as Izumi approached the podium. "I pledge to become the #1 hero," Izumi declared. The crowd began to boo Izumi, calling her arrogant, while All Might watched proudly. "That's my girl," he thought to himself. Izumi returned to her classmates as Midnight managed to quiet the audience. "Now to see what event the students will be doing," Midnight said as she spun a wheel, landing on the obstacle course. "They'll be doing an obstacle course. They'll have to complete a full lap around the arena. Everything is allowed as long as they stay inside the track. Now get into position," Midnight instructed. The students lined up at the starting line. 3, 2, Mike shouted as the race began. The sports festival had officially begun. Now to see who would win. Izuku shouted, "Dragon Zord," as he morphed into the Green Ranger. Shoto and Shoka had already frozen multiple students to the ground as soon as the race began, while Katsuki and Katsumi launched themselves forward with explosions, and Izumi flew ahead using her telekinesis quirk. As Izuku and the other students ran, a group of 0-pointers from the entrance exam dropped in front of them. Izuku pulled out the dragon dagger and summoned the Dragon Zord, which quickly dispatched the 0-pointers before teleporting away. "How can you do that?" Izumi exclaimed, shocked by Izuku's display of power. The audience was equally astonished by Izuku's abilities. Please be advised, ladies and gentlemen, that Izuku Yagi has full permission to summon his own giant robot since it's part of his quirk, Aizawa announced through the speaker. As the students reached the cliff section, Izuku quickly jumped across the chasms with ease. Finally, he arrived at the minefield. Blowing into the dragon dagger to enhance his protection, he dashed through the mines, which exploded around him, but his chest piece shielded him. He made it back to the arena, finishing in first place, with Izumi in second, Shoto in third, Shoka in fourth, Katsumi in fifth, and Katsuki in sixth. And that concludes the race. Now on to the next event, Midnight announced as she spun the wheel again. The cavalry race. You have 15 minutes to choose your teammates, and then 15 minutes to fight, she declared. The person who ranked last was worth 5 points, and each person ranked above that would be worth 5 more than the previous one, with the exception of first place, Midnight explained. Izuku inquired about his points, and Midnight informed him that he had 10 million points. Izuku was taken aback by the amount. The cavalry battle was intense. Izuku's team consisted of him, Ochako, Tokoyami, and a girl from the support department named Mei Hatsum. They managed to win just barely, alongside Izumi, the Bakugo and Todoroki twins, and a few others. Now, they were moving on to the minigames and soon the matches. After the minigames, Kaminari had tricked the 1A girls into wearing cheerleader outfits, which caused Katsumi to express her outrage while Kaminari laughed. Izuku struggled to contain his amusement at seeing Izumi, Shoka, and Katsumi in such embarrassing costumes, though he felt sympathy for Ochako and the other girls, who had done nothing wrong. Ochako was flustered, exclaiming her disbelief at being tricked into wearing the ridiculous costumes. Izuku reassured her that if he faced Kaminari in the matches, he would make sure to teach him a lesson. They then looked at the board to see who would be matched against whom. Izuku was set to face a guy named Hitoshi Shinso, Ida would compete against Mei Hatsum, Shoka was up against Mina, Shoto faced Siro, Katsuki was matched with Tokoyami, Katsumi would fight Kaminari, Kirishima was up against a guy named Tetsu, and Ochako would go against Izumi. In the waiting room, Ojiro warned Izuku about Shinso. He recounted how he had no memory of the cavalry battle and suspected that Shinso's quirk had something to do with mind control. He advised Izuku to remain silent if Shinso asked him a question. Izuku agreed to heed the warning. As Izuku entered the arena, Present Mic announced the first round, Izuku Yagi vs Hitoshi Shinso. Midnight signaled the start of the match. Shinso taunted Izuku, but he remained silent, realizing that if he spoke, he might fall under Shinso's influence. Instead, he charged at Shinso and managed to shove him out of bounds. Midnight declared Izuku the winner, and Shinso, in shock, questioned how Izuku had done it. Izuku explained that he had been warned about Shinso's quirk and chose to stay quiet. He encouraged Shinso to train harder if he wanted to succeed as a hero. Meanwhile, All Might, Inko, and Nizu discussed Shinso's quirk, which allowed him to control anyone who answered his questions. All Might expressed concern about allowing someone with such a quirk into the hero course. After Izuku's match, the other matches unfolded. Ida faced Mei, who tied him up and presented her gadgets, but accidentally stepped out of bounds, leading to her loss. Shoka froze Mina at the start of their match, while Shoto's match with Siro ended similarly. Katsuki won against Tokoyami by using his explosions to weaken Dark Shadow. Katsumi knocked Kaminari out of bounds with an explosion, and Kirishima's match with Tetsu ended in a tie, leading to an arm wrestling contest that Kirishima won. Finally, it was Ochako's turn to face Izumi. As Ochako entered the arena, she wished Izuku and Ida luck. Present Mic announced the match between Ochako Uraraka and Izumi Yagi, both gravity quirk users. The match began, and both girls dashed toward each other. Izumi attempted to use her telekinesis to grab Ochako, but Ochako was too quick. Just as Ochako was about to push Izumi away, Izumi dodged and threw Ochako to the ground. Izumi aimed to strike Ochako but missed as Ochako rolled out of the way, countering with a punch to Izumi's face. Izumi used her quirk to lift Ochako and slammed her down repeatedly. The crowd reacted negatively to Izumi's aggressive tactics, while All Might observed with pride. Once Izumi finished, she approached Ochako and asked if she was ready to give up. Ochako, determined, responded with a firm refusal and grabbed Izumi's ankle, causing her to float. Surprised, Izumi quickly countered by using her quirk to bind Ochako's fingers together, neutralizing the effect and dropping her back to the ground. Izumi then delivered a punch to Ochako's stomach with just a fraction of 1 for all's power, enough to send her out of bounds. Midnight announced the result, declaring Izumi the winner. Afterward, Ochako was taken to Recovery Girl, and Izuku rushed down to check on her. On his way, he collided with Izumi. Curious about his urgency, she asked what was going on, but Izuku remained silent. In a moment of anger, he grabbed Izumi by the collar and pushed her against the wall, warning her to never harm Ochako again. Izumi, intimidated, agreed. Suddenly, a booming voice interrupted them. All Might and Inko appeared, prompting Izuku to release Izumi. Inko rushed to her daughter, asking if she was okay. Izumi reassured her, while Inko turned her attention to Izuku, expressing her anger at his actions. Izuku retorted that Izumi was the one who nearly harmed his friend. All Might chimed in, suggesting that Ochako's weakness was the issue. Izuku, frustrated, shouted back at All Might. Inko demanded an apology, but Izuku rejected the notion of their familial ties, revealing that he knew of their plans to disown him and about One for All. He stormed off, leaving Inko and All Might in shock. Upon entering Recovery Girl's office, Izuku found Ochako resting in a hospital bed, mostly healed. He rushed to her side, relieved to see she was okay. As she woke, she expressed her feelings of inadequacy, but Izuku reassured her of her strength and potential. Ochako, grateful, leaned into him, thanking him for his support. When she looked up, surprised by his use of her first name, Izuku confessed his feelings for her. Ochako blushed and admitted she felt the same. They shared a brief kiss before breaking apart. Izuku asked if she would be his girlfriend, to which she joyfully agreed. Recovery Girl interrupted, reminding them they were in a nurse's office. Izuku prepared to leave for his next match with Ida, promising to see Ochako later. As he exited, he encountered Tommy and Kimberly, who had come to support him. Kimberly expressed interest in speaking to Ochako about a potential opportunity to become the new Pink Ranger, citing Ochako's strength in her match. Izuku explained that Ochako aspired to be a hero to help her family financially. Tommy and Kimberly assured him they could support her, given their resources. Izuku mentioned his new relationship with Ochako, surprising Tommy and Kimberly, who congratulated him. Just then, an announcement called for Izuku to head to the arena for his next match. In the arena, Present Mike introduced the match between Izuku and Ida. As the match began, both competitors charged at each other. Ida attempted a kick, but Izuku dodged and countered with an uppercut. Ida retaliated with a knee strike and a punch, but Izuku's helmet protected him. Ida powered up his engines, preparing for a powerful kick, but Izuku activated his dragon dagger, enhancing his protection just in time. Ida's kick sent Izuku back, but he quickly regained his footing. With determination, Ida charged at Izuku, but Izuku sidestepped at the last moment, causing Ida to run out of bounds. Midnight announced Izuku as the winner, leaving Ida in disbelief. Izuku apologized, acknowledging his speed advantage. The remaining matches continued, with Shoto facing Shoka next, both evenly matched with similar quirks. In the end, Shoto won by encasing Shoka in ice, pushing her to the edge of the fighting ring, and then unleashing a blast of fire that sent her out of bounds. Next was Katsuki's match against Katsumi. Their fight consisted mainly of them shouting at each other. Ultimately, Katsumi managed to win by knocking her brother unconscious with a well-placed punch, utilizing a bit of One for All. Finally, Izumi faced Kirishima and emerged victorious by lifting him into the air with her powers before sending him out of bounds with a powerful punch fueled by One for All. Afterward, they all took a break to prepare for the third rounds. Izuku was on his way to the arena for his fight against Shoto when he heard a familiar voice. He turned to see Endeavor and his son, Tuya Todoroki, also known as Blue Inferno. Izuku greeted them warmly, expressing his excitement to see them after a while. Tuya mentioned that they were there to wish him luck, especially since Shoto had indicated he wouldn't hold back. Izuku appreciated the support but knew he had to focus on the upcoming match. As Izuku entered the arena, he spotted Shoto glaring at him from the opposite end. The announcer introduced the match, highlighting the significance of the matchup between the sons of the number 1 and number 2 heroes. Shoto declared his intent to defeat Izuku, but Izuku remained unfazed, asserting that Shoto's intimidation tactics wouldn't work on him anymore. When the match began, Shoto launched himself at Izuku, surrounded by crackling energy. He fired ice at Izuku mid-jump, but Izuku skillfully dodged at the last moment. He then activated his morpher, transforming into the Green Ranger and preparing for battle. As Shoto unleashed a fiery attack, Izuku defended himself and charged at Shoto, managing to tear his jumpsuit, which only fueled Shoto's anger. Izuku felt a surge of confidence, declaring his strength, but Shoto retaliated by grabbing him and slamming him to the ground. Shoto continued to strike Izuku, causing damage to his helmet, while the audience reacted negatively to Shoto's aggressive behavior. Despite the pleas from Endeavor and Izumi for Shoto to stop, he continued his onslaught, boasting about his superiority. Fueled by anger, Izuku managed to twist Shoto's wrist, momentarily gaining the upper hand. He charged energy into his arm and delivered a powerful punch that sent Shoto flying out of the ring. The announcer declared Izuku the winner, and the crowd erupted in cheers, except for a few who were displeased. In a fit of rage, Shoto attempted to charge at Izuku again, but Izuku countered with a decisive blow that knocked Shoto unconscious. The announcer confirmed Shoto's disqualification from the sports festival. After the match, Izuku went to Recovery Girl for healing. Fortunately, his helmet had protected him from the worst of the damage. Tommy and Kimberly entered the room, expressing their concern for Izuku's well-being. He reassured them that he was fine thanks to his powers. Suddenly, Class 1A burst into the room, with Ochako rushing to Izuku in tears, relieved that he was okay. The class noticed Tommy and Kimberly and greeted them respectfully. They explained their presence was to support Izuku, who was one of their own. Izuku spotted Izumi among the group and questioned her presence. She insisted she just wanted to check on him, but Izuku was dismissive, suggesting she focus on her upcoming match. Ochako defended Izuku, calling him her boyfriend, which surprised everyone except for a few. Izuku confronted Izumi about her past actions, and she denied any wrongdoing. He revealed that Shoto had whispered something to him during their fight, which left Izumi confused. The tension in the room was palpable as the group navigated their complicated relationships, but Izuku remained firm in his stance. Izuku instructed Izumi to leave without even glancing at her. Izumi began to cry, pleading with him, but he shouted for her to get out. Heartbroken, she ran from the room. Afterward, they took their seats to watch Izumi's match against Katsumi. The fight commenced, and Izumi quickly used her quirk to throw Katsumi out of bounds. Midnight announced the swift victory, declaring Izumi Yagi the winner. Now, it was down to the final two students, Izuku and Izumi. Before the match, Ochako wished Izuku good luck and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. He thanked her and entered the arena, where Izumi was already waiting. Present Mike announced the final match, introducing the twin competitors. As the match began, Izuku attempted to activate his morpher, but Izumi used her quirk to send it flying out of bounds. Present Mike exclaimed the shocking turn of events, causing panic among their classmates, except for the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. All Might and Inko were pleased, believing Izumi would win. Izuku mentally prepared himself, realizing he would have to fight without his quirk. Izumi taunted him, asking if he would give up, but he declared he would never surrender and charged at her. She attempted to grab him with her quirk, but he was too quick. When she tried to strike him, he dodged and countered with a punch to her stomach, followed by a powerful kick that sent her flying out of bounds. Midnight announced Izuku as the winner of the sports festival, while cheers erupted from the crowd, except for All Might, Inko, Izumi, and the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. All Might shouted in disbelief at the outcome. During the medal ceremony, Izuku stood proudly in first place, with Izumi in second and Katsumi in third. The audience wondered who would present the medals when they heard a familiar laugh. All Might leaped down to greet the winners. He awarded Katsumi her bronze medal, encouraging her to keep training. He then presented the silver medal to Izumi, expressing his belief in her potential as a hero. Finally, he handed the gold medal to Izuku without making eye contact, leaving the audience puzzled. After the sports festival, the class returned to the dorms for a party, although Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins were absent, along with Ida, who had left early. At the party, Izuku and Ochako approached Eri, sharing their news about their relationship. Eri joyfully hugged Ochako, who embraced her back. Izuku then requested a moment alone with Ochako, and they stepped outside, where they encountered All Might. He urged Izuku to give his Green Ranger powers to Izumi so she could become the #1 hero, but Izuku dismissed him and walked away. They made their way to the roof of the school. Izuku asked Ochako to take his hand, and when she did, he activated his watch. In an instant, they found themselves in the command center. Ochako was bewildered by their surroundings when a voice introduced itself as Zordon. Izuku explained that Zordon was an interdimensional being caught in a time warp. As they processed this, Kimberly, Tommy, and the other Rangers appeared, revealing that they had been teleported to the command center in America, the base of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Kimberly explained that she and the other Rangers were retiring and wanted Ochako to take her place as the next Pink Ranger. Ochako was shocked, questioning how she could assume the role without a quirk. Izuku clarified that the Power Rangers were not reliant on quirks, they were all quirkless, including himself. He shared his past struggles with being bullied and neglected, revealing the truth about his family's plans for him. Zordon confirmed Izuku's story and invited Ochako to look into the viewing globe, where she witnessed the painful experiences Izuku had endured. The revelation left her horrified. Ochako reflected on her experiences with bullying, sharing that she had faced challenges growing up due to her family's financial struggles, but her parents had always supported her. She acknowledged that Izuku had endured even more hardship. Izuku offered her a chance to join the Power Rangers, explaining that the other Rangers had businesses across America and could help her family financially. After a moment of consideration, Ochako agreed to join. Kimberly welcomed her to the team, handing over her power coin and morpher, noting that Ochako was already trained and ready to step into her role. Ochako inserted the power coin into the morpher, curious about how to activate it. Kimberly instructed her to raise it and shout, "Pterodactyl," assuring her that the morpher would handle the rest. Taking a deep breath, Ochako raised her morpher and transformed into the Pink Ranger, overwhelmed by the exhilarating sensation of morphing. Izuku reminisced about his own first transformation as the Green Ranger and then turned serious, sharing that Zordon had discovered a way to reveal the truth about Izuku's parents and bullies to the world. Zordon explained that they could potentially broadcast the viewing globe's content on live television, though it had never been attempted before. He and Billy were working on the logistics, advising Izuku to be patient. Meanwhile, All Might confronted a villain in an alleyway, seeking his assistance for a dark task. The hero killer Stain was surprised to see All Might and questioned his request to eliminate Izuku, All Might's own son. All Might accused Izuku of being a corrupt hero, motivated by fame and money, and presented an edited video as evidence of Izuku's supposed threat against his sister. Stain agreed to take on the task, unaware of the video's true nature, and All Might urged him to act quickly before departing. As Izuku walked to school in the rain, he noticed Ida rushing past him, recalling that Ida had left the sports festival early due to his brother's injury at the hands of the hero killer Stain. Concerned, Izuku approached Ida to check on him, but Ida insisted he was fine, even though Izuku sensed his unease. Upon arriving at class, they encountered students mocking Izumi for her defeat against Izuku, with social media buzzing with ridicule. When Aizawa entered the room, he revealed that he had recovered from his injuries and informed the class about upcoming internships with hero agencies. He displayed a list of students who had received the most requests, including Izuku and Katsuki. Midnight entered and announced that they would need to come up with hero names, which she would evaluate. Izuku confidently wrote down Green Ranger, while Ochako chose Uravity, keeping her new identity under wraps for now. As they presented their names, some were humorous, while others, like Katsumi's Queen Explosion Murder, were deemed too violent by Midnight. The playful banter continued, with Izuku teasing that their names sounded like a royal couple. When it was Izuku's turn, he proudly declared his hero name, and his classmates responded positively, though Shoto dismissed it as silly. Izumi introduced herself as Mighty Green, prompting a sarcastic thought from Izuku about originality. Ida simply chose Tenya, which Midnight questioned for its lack of creativity. Afterward, the students reviewed the list of agencies interested in them. Izuku had received numerous offers, many from Power Ranger teams in America. Ochako excitedly announced her choice to intern with Gunhead to improve her combat skills, while Izuku pondered his own options. Izuku expressed his uncertainty about which opportunity to choose. The day continued, and soon everyone returned to their dorms. Upon entering his room, Izuku's watch began to beep. He responded to the watch, curious about the message. Tommy informed him that he had found a hero agency for him to consider interning with. Izuku asked for details, and Tommy instructed him to teleport to the command center for more information. Izuku agreed and locked his door before teleporting. Upon arrival at the command center, Izuku was surprised to see Tommy alongside another ranger. He recognized the legendary Blue Turbo Ranger and was in awe. Tommy introduced Justin Stewart, the Blue Turbo Ranger, who welcomed Izuku and offered him a chance to join his agency. Tommy emphasized that it was a significant opportunity, and Izuku eagerly accepted. A few days later, Izuku packed his belongings, preparing for his journey to America to train with Justin. Before leaving, he bid farewell to Ochako and Eri, reassuring Eri that Aizawa would look after her while he was away. With a final goodbye, Izuku teleported to America, arriving in a town near Angel Grove where Justin's agency was located in a 5-story building adorned with the Power Ranger turbo symbol. Entering the building, Izuku approached the receptionist and introduced himself. The receptionist confirmed that Justin was expecting him and directed him to the elevator. Izuku thanked her and made his way to the top floor. Inside Justin's office, he found Justin looking at a framed photograph. Izuku greeted him, and Justin encouraged him to call him by his name. They discussed their plans, and Justin informed Izuku that they would begin with a patrol after morphing into their ranger forms. With their morphers in hand, they transformed into Power Rangers and set out on patrol. Their day was relatively quiet, involving minor incidents like stopping a purse snatcher and rescuing a cat from a tree. Just as they were about to return, an explosion echoed in the distance. They rushed to the scene, discovering a giant villain rampaging through the area. Justin instructed Izuku to ensure the civilians were safe while he confronted the villain. Izuku quickly moved to evacuate the bystanders. In the midst of his efforts, he noticed a young boy crying in front of a building, unaware of the danger as debris threatened to fall. Izuku dashed forward, saving the boy just in time and returning him to his grateful parents. Justin acknowledged Izuku's bravery, and they prepared to confront the villain together. As they faced off against the adversary, the villain boasted about his invincibility. Justin fired his blasters, momentarily stunning the villain, allowing Izuku to finish the fight with his dragon dagger. With the villain apprehended and the crowd cheering, their heroic deeds were broadcasted on the news. All Might watched from home, feeling a mix of pride and frustration at Izuku's rising fame. As the news reporter interviewed the two Rangers, Izuku expressed his aspirations to become a top hero upon graduation. Meanwhile, All Might, feeling overwhelmed by Izuku's success, reacted dramatically, throwing the television out of the window. He then made a call to Stain, instructing him to eliminate Izuku as soon as possible. Stain, perched on a rooftop, assured All Might that he had a plan to lure Izuku out. One night in Hosu City, chaos erupted as Shigaraki and Kurogyri unleashed 3 new Nomus. Amid the turmoil, Stain targeted a hero named Native. Just as he was about to strike, Ida confronted him, demanding he stop. Just the man Izuku was looking for, Stain turned to face him. Meanwhile, in America, Izuku was practicing his karate moves in the training room at Justin's hero agency when his phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at it and saw a video sent by Ida. That was odd. It was nighttime in Japan. Why would Ida send a video at that time? Izuku played the video and was shocked to see the hero killer, Stain. Stain greeted him, revealing that he was in Hosu City with a friend of Izuku's, showing Ida lying on the ground, injured. Izuku's heart sank in horror. Stain continued, threatening that if Izuku wanted to see Ida alive, he needed to come to a specific alleyway in Hosu City within an hour. Stain warned him that if he didn't arrive soon, his friend would die. Ida shouted a warning, urging Izuku not to come, but the video abruptly ended. Izuku gritted his teeth in anger and rushed to Justin's office. He informed Justin of the situation, showing him the video. Justin expressed confusion about why Stain would consider Izuku a fake hero, given his heroic nature. Izuku didn't have the answers. All that mattered was saving Ida. Justin agreed, stating they would teleport to Japan to rescue Izuku's friend. They both pulled out their morphers and called out their transformations. In an instant, they teleported to Hosu City, where chaos reigned with fires and 3 Nomus attacking the city. Justin told Izuku to help his friend while he assisted the other pro-heroes with the situation. Izuku hurried to the alleyway Stain had indicated, finding Ida and another pro-hero injured. He rushed to Ida's side, but Ida warned him of the trap behind him. Stain loomed behind Izuku, ready to strike, but Izuku swiftly turned, drew the dragon dagger, and blocked the attack. He declared that Stain would pay for hurting his friend, shoving Stain back. Stain retaliated by throwing one of his swords at Izuku, who caught it by the handle and stabbed it into the ground, asserting his intention to make the world a better place. Stain insisted that Izuku was a fake hero and charged at him. Their clash began, with Izuku blocking Stain's katana and delivering a series of punches. Stain grunted in pain but managed to shove Izuku away and grab the sword from the ground, swinging it at Izuku and knocking him down. As Stain prepared to finish Izuku off, Ida kicked him into a wall. Izuku was surprised that Ida had managed to get back up, and Ida explained that the effects of Stain's quirk had worn off. Stain revealed that his quirk allowed him to paralyze anyone whose blood he consumed, but the effects varied based on blood types. Determined, Izuku and Ida readied themselves to take down Stain. Just then, a blast of blue energy struck Stain in the shoulder, and they turned to see Justin standing there with his turbo hand blasters. Justin joined them, having helped the other pros deal with the Nomus. Stain, furious, claimed he could take them all on. He revealed that Izuku's father had told him about Izuku being a fake hero and how he had threatened his own sister. Izuku was taken aback, demanding to know what Stain was talking about. Stain produced a video showing an edited version of Izuku threatening Izumi. Izuku defended himself, stating that while he had threatened Izumi, it was only because she had nearly harmed his girlfriend. He presented the actual security footage from the sports festival, which showed the context of his words. As the video played, it depicted Izuku's confrontation with Izumi and the arrival of All Might and Inko. Izuku's emotions surged as he recalled the moment. Stain was incredulous, unable to believe that All Might would say such things. Izuku stood firm, knowing the truth of his actions and the circumstances surrounding them. In fact, Izuku revealed the extent of the torment he had endured, showcasing the pain inflicted by All Might, Inko, Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins. Ida inquired about the source of the footage, to which Izuku explained that a friend had provided it. The day before, Billy had informed Izuku that they had compiled 10 years' worth of torment on the viewing globe and would download it onto his phone. Grateful, Izuku expressed his intention to expose his family and bullies for who they truly were. Back in the present, Izuku confronted Stain, presenting him with a choice: to turn himself in or face the consequences from the three of them. Stain acknowledged Izuku's heroism, admitting he would allow himself to be arrested as he relinquished his blades. Once Stain was secured, they exited the alleyway, where several pro-heroes, including Endeavor, Gran Torino, Izumi, and the Todoroki twins, rushed to their side. Izuku greeted Gran Torino enthusiastically, who embraced him warmly. When Justin questioned their relationship, Izuku clarified that Gran Torino was like a grandfather to him due to their close bond. Noticing Izumi and the Todoroki twins, Izuku asked why they were present. Gran Torino explained that Izumi was interning with him, while Endeavor mentioned Shoto and Shoko were interning with him. Their attention shifted to Stain, and Izumi expressed disbelief at his presence. Izuku confirmed that they had taken down the hero killer on their own, prompting skepticism from Shoto, who doubted their ability to defeat such a formidable opponent. Stain corroborated Izuku's claim, stating that Izuku had persuaded him to surrender. Stain then directed a harsh remark at Endeavor, criticizing his children, and made a similar accusation towards Gran Torino regarding Izumi. Izuku promised to explain later as the police arrived to take Stain away. Following this, Izuku, Ida, Justin, and Native went to the hospital for checkups. Ida had some cuts, but the doctors treated him, while Native required a longer stay due to his injuries from Stain. Once settled, Izuku and Justin demorphed and sat beside Ida in his hospital bed. Ida expressed his gratitude for Izuku's actions, acknowledging his reckless behavior driven by rage and vengeance, which nearly cost him his life. He felt disappointment from Tensei looming over him. Suddenly, a man with a dog head entered the room, introducing himself as Officer Kenji Tsuragami. He informed them about the developments following Stain's arrest. When he mentioned Izuku's involvement in convincing Stain to surrender, Izuku felt uneasy being referred to by his last name. Officer Tsuragami explained that typically, they wouldn't disclose the identity of a minor who had apprehended a dangerous criminal, But since Izuku had managed to stop Stain without using his quirk, there was a loophole that allowed him to receive credit for the capture if he wished. Izuku agreed. Afterward, he received a text from Gran Torino, asking him to meet on the hospital roof. Upon arrival, Gran Torino greeted him and asked about the allegations Stain had made regarding Izuku's family. Izuku looked up at the night sky and confirmed the truth of Stain's claims, revealing that he had saved footage on his phone documenting the neglect and bullying he had suffered. Gran Torino was shocked by the revelations about Toshinori, Inko, and Izumi. He expressed disbelief that he had been unaware of the situation, as he had always been told Izuku was busy when he visited. Izuku explained that his family had hidden him away in the basement. Gran Torino was appalled, questioning how Toshinori could have forgotten his roots. He elaborated on Toshinori's past, explaining that he had once been quirkless and had received one for all from Izuku's grandmother, Nana Shimura. Gran Torino recounted how Toshinori had changed over time, allowing fame and power to corrupt him, which had been a concern for Nana before her tragic death at the hands of a villain. Izuku resolved that it was time to expose the truth, planning to broadcast the footage on live television soon. And his life, as well as his mother's, Izumi's, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins, would be over, Izuku thought. Gran Torino expressed his hope that Toshinori, Inko, Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins would face consequences for their actions. Meanwhile, All Might was at home watching the news about Stain's arrest. The reporter announced that the hero killer Stain had been apprehended by pro-heroes, with Izuku Yagi, the new Green Ranger, playing a pivotal role in convincing Stain to surrender. All Might reacted with disbelief, feeling threatened by the idea that Izuku might surpass him as the #1 hero. Determined, he decided to take matters into his own hands. After a few days, everyone returned to UA after their internships. Katsuki and Katsumi sported outrageous hairstyles, prompting laughter from Kaminari and Siro. Katsumi lamented their choice of internship with Best Jeanist, while Katsuki expressed frustration over the unexpected haircuts and attire. As they settled into class, many students gathered around Izuku, praising him for his bravery in getting the hero killer Stain to surrender. Questions flew about his experience, and Izuku reassured them that he was fine. Suddenly, the PA system called for Izuku to come to the principal's office. He made his way down the hallway, only to find All Might waiting for him instead of Nizu. All Might informed Izuku that he was under arrest, claiming it was for not knowing his place. He grabbed Izuku's arm and produced HNDCFFS, prompting Izuku to shout in protest. Just then, Nizu and Aizawa entered the room, shocked by the scene. Izuku accused All Might of trying to arrest him for being quirkless, and the two heroes were taken aback by the revelation. All Might insisted he could do as he pleased, given his status as the #1 hero. Seizing the moment, Izuku broke free and summoned his morpher, calling forth the Dragonzord. The confrontation escalated as All Might retaliated, sending Izuku crashing through a wall and into the street. Despite the impact, Izuku's chest piece protected him. All Might leaped outside, ready to strike again, but Izuku narrowly evaded the blow. Students watched from the windows as the two clashed. Izuku attempted to counter with a dagger, but All Might retaliated with a powerful backhand that sent him sprawling. In a display of aggression, All Might began to rain down punches on Izuku, drawing a crowd of onlookers who were horrified by the brutal scene. Whispers of All Might's actions spread, with people questioning his motives and character. As the crowd turned against him, All Might dismissed their concerns, insisting he was merely putting Izuku in his place. Meanwhile, Ochako watched the news with her classmates and realized she had to intervene. She hurried to the bathroom, ensuring she was alone before retrieving her morpher and transforming into the Pterodactyl Ranger. She leaped out of the window and rushed to the scene, where she saw All Might poised to deliver a final blow to Izuku. With determination, she fired an arrow from her power bow into All Might's back, causing him to cry out in pain. All Might, surprised and furious, turned to face her, not recognizing her. As he lunged at her, they engaged in a fierce battle. Izuku, slowly regaining consciousness, saw Ochako fighting and quickly joined the fray, leaping onto All Might's back. All Might, frustrated, threw Izuku aside, but Ochako helped him to his feet, asking if he was okay. Just then, a school bus full of children passed by, and All Might, in a fit of rage, hurled it toward them. The world gasped in horror as the bus hurtled through the air, seemingly sealing their fate. But then, the Tiger Zord appeared, catching the bus in its mouth, with Tommy standing atop it as the White Ranger. Izuku recognized him and felt a surge of hope as Tommy leaped down to assist. Together, they helped the children and the bus driver to safety while Tommy confronted All Might. All Might, defiant, declared he would destroy anyone who challenged him. Tommy confronted him about his actions, questioning how he could justify trying to harm Izuku simply for being quirkless. All Might defended his actions, claiming he was a hero for putting Izuku in his place, insisting he could do whatever he wanted with his son. But Tommy retorted that Izuku was not his son anymore, challenging All Might's twisted sense of justice. Tommy declared that he was claiming Saba as he prepared for battle. Izuku and Ochako rushed back to witness Tommy and All Might in combat. They drew their weapons, ready to assist Tommy. All Might boasted about his power, proclaiming himself a god, but suddenly collapsed. Toshinori found himself in the void of One for All, a place he had visited long ago during his time as a student at UA. He noticed Izumi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins standing nearby. Katsumi and Katsuki expressed their confusion about their location, while Shoto questioned how they had arrived there. Shoko wondered if Deku was responsible. Izumi anxiously asked Toshinori what was happening, explaining that they had been watching the news of his fight with Izuku before losing consciousness. A familiar voice responded, revealing Toshinori's mentor, Nana Shimura, along with the previous holders of One for All. Toshinori was shocked to see Nana and demanded to know why he was there, insisting he needed to wake up to confront the Power Rangers. Nana slapped him, and Toshinori was bewildered by her reaction. She scolded him for his actions, reminding him that she had entrusted him with her quirk and allowed him to marry her daughter, only for him to threaten her grandson. Toshinori argued that the boy was quirkless, but the first holder of One for All reminded him that he had been quirkless too. The group reacted in disbelief, and the sixth holder condemned Toshinori for nearly harming children. The second holder chastised him for his actions, while the third holder labeled him and his successors as villains. Katsuki shouted that they were just putting Deku in his place, but the second holder silenced him with a swift gesture. Toshinori demanded to know why Nana had brought them there. She explained that it was to end the chaos, declaring that he was no longer worthy of One for All and that none of his successors had ever been worthy. She announced that they would be stripped of their quirks. The group was stunned by the revelation, and Nana clarified that their original quirks had become linked to One for All, which she now controlled. Toshinori protested vehemently, claiming he was nothing without One for All, but Nana retorted that if that were true, he did not deserve it. Izumi pleaded with Nana, but Nana dismissed her, asserting that Izuku was her true grandchild. Suddenly, everyone awoke. Izumi, the Todoroki twins, and the Bakugo twins found themselves in Recovery Girl's office, while Toshinori awoke handcuffed on the street in front of Izuku, Ochako, and Tommy. He caught sight of his reflection in a puddle and was horrified to see a skeletal visage. Toshinori attempted to activate One for All, but it was futile. He glared at Izuku, blaming him for his quirklessness. Izuku responded with indifference. Police officers arrived and arrested Toshinori, listing charges that included child abuse and attempted murder. Izuku revealed that he had broadcast footage of Toshinori and his family bullying him while he was unconscious, ensuring the world knew of their actions. Afterward, Toshinori was taken to jail, awaiting trial. Meanwhile, Izumi, Katsuki, Katsumi, Shoto, and Shoko were summoned to the principal's office. Nizu informed them that they were expelled from UA and would be blacklisted from enrolling in any hero courses. As they exited the school, they faced hostility from other students. Kirishima confronted Katsuki, expressing his disappointment in their friendship. Inko fled UA, realizing her husband would not win against Izuku, but was arrested at the airport while attempting to escape the country. Days later, both Toshinori and Inko were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Meanwhile, Izumi and the Bakugo and Todoroki twins faced public scorn. Their parents disowned them, and Izumi was filled with regret for her actions against Izuku, while the others blamed him and vowed revenge. Izuku, on the other hand, misled the public about his quirklessness, claiming he had been misdiagnosed and that his family had abused him. Most people believed his story, and he finally felt a sense of justice. Izuku received a call from Tommy, asking him to meet at the command center. Upon arrival, he found Tommy, Kimberly, James, Jason, Billy, Zack, Alpha, and Zordon waiting for him. Tommy explained that with both of Izuku's biological parents in jail, he had no one to care for him. Izuku insisted he could take care of himself, but Tommy and Kimberly proposed adopting him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Izuku embraced Tommy and Kimberly, expressing his joy at the prospect of being adopted. Tommy welcomed him into the family, declaring him Izuku Oliver, while James excitedly noted that he would now have a brother. Kimberly warmly welcomed him, marking a beautiful new chapter for the Power Rangers. A new member of the Oliver family has been added, Zordon announced. Izuku shared the exciting news that he and Ochako would soon be adopting Eri, making his parents soon-to-be grandparents. Speaking of Ochako, Zordon noted as she teleported into the command center. He then revealed that he was getting adopted by Tommy and Kimberly, which thrilled Ochako. James then pulled out a morpher containing the White Ranger power coin, announcing that he was the new White Ranger. Tommy reassured everyone that he still held onto his other Ranger powers. Billy added that they had a new Yellow Ranger, and suddenly, a girl around Izuku's, Ochako's, and James's age appeared in a flash of yellow light. "This is my daughter, Sasha Cranston, the new Yellow Ranger," Billy introduced. James added that she was also his girlfriend. Sasha greeted Izuku and Ochako warmly as she shook their hands. Zordon then mentioned that he had located 3 new candidates to replace Jason, Zack, and Billy. When Izuku asked who they were, Zordon prepared to bring them in. Flashes of red, blue, and black lights illuminated the room as 3 figures stepped out of the shadows. "Ida, Kirishima, Tokoyami!" Izuku exclaimed. Kirishima greeted everyone enthusiastically, while Ochako asked if they had agreed to become Power Rangers. Kirishima explained that he had been a fan growing up, and Tokoyami expressed curiosity about the experience. Ida shared his desire to redeem himself after a previous incident. Zordon assigned the Ranger colors. Ijiro would be the Red Ranger, Tenya the blue, and Fumikage the black. Jason handed Kirishima the Red Ranger power coin and morpher, while Billy provided Ida with the Blue Ranger power coin and morpher, and Zack did the same for Tokoyami. Sasha pulled out the Yellow Ranger power coin and morpher, and Izuku, Ochako, and James readied their morphers as well. Tommy encouraged them, and they all shouted their transformation phrases, morphing into their Ranger forms. Zordon declared that Izuku and James would lead the Power Rangers together, wishing them protection always. Meanwhile, Katsuki, Katsumi, Shoto, and Shoko were in an old abandoned warehouse, plotting revenge against Izuku and Yue. Izumi sat quietly in the corner, feeling out of place. Katsumi suggested using explosives, while Shoko proposed a more cautious approach of picking them off one by one. Before they could finalize their plans, a portal opened, and Lord Draken emerged. The group took defensive stances, with Katsumi demanding to know who he was and if Izuku had sent him. Lord Draken introduced himself and stated that he wanted to recruit them. Suddenly, All for One stepped out of the portal, causing Izumi to react in fear upon recognizing him. He explained that they had a proposal. They would help break Izumi's parents out of prison in exchange for revenge against Izuku and the Power Rangers. The Bakugo and Todoroki twins immediately agreed, while Izumi hesitated. Shoto urged her to consider the chance for revenge against her brother. Lord Draken encouraged them to step through the portal, and the others followed, with Shoto pulling Izumi along. They found themselves in another warehouse filled with ominous sights. Lord Draken opened 2 portals and retrieved Inko and Tashinori, both in prison jumpsuits. Tashinori recognized All for One and attempted to attack, but the others restrained him. Lord Draken assured Tashinori that he could help them gain new powers, specifically the power of the Psycho Rangers. The prospect excited Shoto, Katsuki, Katsumi, and Shoka, who all agreed to the transformation. Inko and Toshinori also expressed their willingness to gain power again. Izumi was uncertain, but Toshinori insisted she would join them. Lord Draken instructed everyone to step onto a platform, and as they did, he activated the transformation process, resulting in a brilliant flash of light. When the light cleared, they were different. Lord Draken and AFO smirked under their helmets as they observed their new forms. Draken addressed Toshinori, identifying him as Psycho Red. He then turned to Shoto, calling him Psycho Blue, followed by Katsumi, who was now Psycho Yellow. Katsuki was designated as Psycho Black, while Shoka became Psycho Pink. Inko was labeled Psycho Silver, and finally, Izumi was recognized as Psycho Green. Toshinori, Inko, Shoto, Shoka, Katsuki, and Katsumi all laughed maniacally. Izumi felt a conflict within her. The Green Psycho Ranger powers were taking control of her mind, and she too began to laugh uncontrollably. Katsuki warned Izuku that the Psycho Rangers were coming for him. Izuku was sitting at his desk in class when Aizawa entered the room. He announced that since Izumi Yagi, the Bakugo twins, and the Todoroki twins were absent, 5 new students would be joining them. As 5 teenagers entered, Izuku recognized 3 of them, James, Sasha, and Shinso. The other 2 were unfamiliar. One was a young man with brown hair and blue eyes, and the other was a girl with brown hair streaked with blonde. Aizawa introduced the new exchange students from America and allowed them to introduce themselves. Shinso stepped forward first, introducing himself and mentioning his quirk, which allowed him to put people under mind control with his voice. Next, James introduced himself as the new Mighty Morphin, White Ranger, sharing that his parents were the original Mighty Morphin, White Ranger and Pink Ranger. He also revealed that he was Izuku's adoptive brother, prompting surprise from the class. Izuku explained that since his biological parents were in jail, James's parents had adopted him, changing his name to Izuku Oliver. Sasha then introduced herself as the new Mighty Morphin Yellow Ranger, noting her lineage as the daughter of the original Yellow and Blue Rangers. Ben, the young man with brown hair and blue eyes, introduced himself as the new Red Time Force Ranger, while Kylie, the girl with brown and blonde hair, identified herself as the Orange Space Ranger, sharing her own family background in the Ranger legacy. Zero expressed disbelief that most of the new students were Power Rangers, to which James confidently affirmed. Just then, the PA system called for Izuku to come to Principal Nizu's office. He sighed, knowing he had to go. Upon arriving at the principal's office, Izuku found Nizu and Detective Tsukachi. Tsukachi delivered the unsettling news that Izuku's parents had escaped from prison. They showed him security footage revealing that portals had appeared in front of Toshinori and Inko, pulling them in before disappearing. Izuku was left in shock, questioning who had helped them escape. Returning to class, Izuku noticed the 5 new students had taken the seats of his absent friends, with James sitting in Izumi's old desk. Aizawa announced that the class would have a training session against the new students, instructing everyone to head to the training area. In the training area, Izuku wore his green t-shirt and jeans while his classmates donned their hero uniforms. James wore a white t-shirt and jeans, Sasha had on a yellow t-shirt and shorts, Ben was in a Time Force jumpsuit, Kylie wore a Space Ranger uniform, and Shinso was in his costume. Aizawa announced that the new students would morph. James and Sasha shouted their morphing commands, transforming into their ranger forms. Ben activated his Time Force morpher, and Kylie followed suit with her Space Ranger morpher. Class 1A faced off against the new students in a training match, resulting in a tie. Afterward, they returned to class, where Aizawa informed them about an upcoming training camp facility and the need to prepare for it. Later, Izuku and his classmates stood outside the training grounds, where their teachers awaited them. Nizu explained that the students would be split into teams of 2 to face off against the teachers. Despite the concerns expressed by Kaminari and Mina about the challenge ahead, Izuku encouraged everyone to embrace the opportunity to grow stronger as heroes. Now here's who will be against whom. Kaminari and Ishido will face Izuku, Uraraka and Aoyama will take on 13, Jiro and Koda will challenge Present Mike, Shoji and Toru will go against Snipe, Hammond and Siro will compete with Midnight, Ida and Ojiro will face Power Loader, Kirishima and Sato will take on Cementos, Azui and Tokoyami will challenge Ectoplasm, Yaoyorozu and Collins will go against Eraserhead, Shinso and Quan Cranston will face one of the new teachers, and the Oliver brothers will take on the other new teacher, Nizu explained. Izuku asked who the new teachers were. Two familiar voices responded, revealing themselves as Tommy and Kimberly. Izuku and James exclaimed in surprise, recognizing their parents. Tommy introduced himself as Dr. Tommy Oliver and introduced his wife, Kimberly Oliver, explaining that they would be taking All Might's and Green Magnet's places as teachers at UA. Kirishima expressed excitement about having Power Ranger teachers. Tommy shared that he had passed on the Green Ranger powers to Izuku and the White Ranger powers to James, but he still retained the ability to transform into several other Ranger forms. Kimberly added that while she had passed on the Pink Ranger powers to someone else, she still had the ability to become the Pink Ninjetti Ranger. Nizu then outlined the rules of the challenge, stating that to win, the students had to either put a pair of high-tech HND CFFS on their opponents or escape the area through the exit. Afterward, they moved to the observation room to watch the matches unfold. Ochako and Aoyama managed to defeat 13, thanks to Ochako's training from both Gunhead and Kimberly. Kylie and Siro overcame Midnight, aided by Kylie's training from the other Space Rangers. Ben and Momo captured Aizawa, benefiting from Ben's training with both Time Force and the Silver Guardians. Sasha and Shinso succeeded in capturing Kimberly, thanks to their combined training. The remaining matches followed the same outcomes as in the show. Finally, it was Izuku and James against Tommy. They morphed and entered the simulated city, ready to face their father. They searched for him but found no sign of him. Suddenly, the ground shook as the Brachiosaurus approached. They looked up to see Tommy standing on top as the Black Dino Thunder Ranger, who then leapt down in front of them. Tommy asked if they were ready as he pulled out the Brachio staff. Izuku and James responded enthusiastically, drawing their weapons. Tommy charged at his sons, swinging the Brachio staff, but they dodged just in time. He swung the staff down at James, who blocked it with Saba, while Izuku seized the opportunity to throw Tommy against a wall. They prepared to strike simultaneously, but Tommy ducked and delivered quick uppercuts to both of them. James grabbed Tommy and threw him to the ground, but Tommy quickly leapt onto the Brachiosaurus. Izuku summoned the Dragon Zord, and James called forth the Tiger Zord. The two smaller Zords faced off against the massive Brachiosaurus. The Dragon Zord climbed up the neck of the Brachiosaurus, reaching its head, while the Tiger Zord attempted to restrain the larger Zord. Izuku jumped from the head of the Dragon Zord to the head of the Brachiosaurus, where Tommy awaited. They resumed their duel, with Izuku swinging the Dragon Dagger at Tommy, who blocked it with the Brachio staff. Seizing the moment, Izuku managed to handcuff Tommy with his other hand. Alarms blared, signaling the end of the match. Tommy expressed pride in Izuku and James for their victory. Afterward, they returned to the dorms. Izuku and the others chatted in class, excited for the upcoming training camp. Kaminari, Mina, Kirishima, Sato, and Siro felt disheartened about failing the training, but Aizawa reassured them that they would still attend the camp, albeit with even more rigorous training. Mina suggested they go shopping at the mall for camping supplies, and Izuku agreed. They all headed to the mall, bringing Eri along since she would join them at the camp. The other students dispersed to shop, leaving Izuku alone with Ochako and Eri. Ochako informed Izuku that she and Eri would be getting bug spray and asked if he would join them. Izuku replied that he had other items to shop for and suggested they meet back in half an hour. After they left, Izuku prepared to shop when he suddenly felt a hand around his neck. Turning, he saw a figure in a black hoodie holding him. The stranger greeted Izuku, recognizing him. Izuku corrected him, stating his name was now Izuku Oliver. The man acknowledged his mistake and remarked on Izuku's growing fame, mentioning his defeat of Stain and the sympathy he received due to his troubled family background. Izuku inquired about the man's identity, and the man revealed himself as Tamura Shigaraki. Izuku's realization sparked a sense of urgency as he reached for his morpher. Shigaraki threatened him, warning that he would harm him if he attempted to transform. Izuku pointed out that such an act would attract the attention of nearby heroes. Shigaraki agreed but suggested he could cause harm before help arrived. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Izuku asked what Shigaraki wanted. The villain expressed a desire to talk and suggested they find a place to sit. They settled on a nearby bench. Izuku asked what Shigaraki wanted to discuss. Shigaraki claimed they were not so different, sharing that he also grew up in a difficult household, facing abuse from his father for wanting to be a hero. Izuku expressed disbelief at the notion that Shigaraki had ever wanted to be a hero. Izuku and his sister aspired to be heroes like their grandmother. However, their father despised heroes and held a grudge against their grandmother for putting him up for adoption when he was a child. Shigaraki explained that she did it to protect him from a villain known as All for One, not wanting to endanger him. Izuku, shocked, realized the connection. Shigaraki revealed that their grandmothers were the same, making them cousins. This revelation left Izuku astonished. Shigaraki continued, explaining that their grandmother had trained Izuku's mother to fight All for One while he had suffered abuse from his father, though his mother and sister had treated him kindly. Despite their different experiences, Izuku had become a hero while Shigaraki had turned to villainy. Curious, Izuku asked why Shigaraki chose that path. Shigaraki recounted how he had used his quirk to take down his father and, in a tragic turn, accidentally harmed the rest of his family. All for One had taken him in afterward, providing a sense of belonging that he had lacked. Izuku was taken aback to learn that Shigaraki worked for the man responsible for their grandmother's death. Shigaraki acknowledged the complexity of his situation, noting that he had found a father figure in All for One, while Izuku had endured a difficult upbringing yet still chose to be a hero. Shigaraki questioned why Izuku had not used his powers for revenge when he had the chance. Izuku explained that he wanted to rise above his circumstances and be a true hero rather than stoop to villainy. Shigaraki expressed his resentment, feeling that despite their similar childhoods, Izuku had chosen a noble path while he had not. Izuku was puzzled by Shigaraki's knowledge of Zordon, to which Shigaraki replied that the League had extensive information about Izuku and his friends. Just then, Ochako and Eri arrived, prompting Izuku to warn them to stay back as Shigaraki stood up to leave. Shigaraki, with a smile, mentioned he would be going but whispered a threat to Izuku before departing. Ochako and Eri rushed to Izuku's side, concerned for him. Izuku called out to Shigaraki, who paused when Ochako recognized him. Izuku then asked Shigaraki about All for One's plans, but Shigaraki shrugged, stating he had no idea, only that they were in trouble. Later, Ochako contacted the police, and Izuku was taken in for questioning. After sharing what he knew, he was released and found Tommy and Kimberly waiting for him outside. He informed them about Shigaraki being his cousin and his knowledge of Zordon, leaving them shocked. They agreed to discuss it later and decided to head home. On the bus to camp, Izuku, Ochako, Eri, and their classmates were surprised when they stopped at a cliff instead of the camp. Eventually, they arrived at the camp, where the Pussycats, Aizawa, Eri, Vlad King, and another child awaited them. Mandalay praised the students for their efforts, but Izuku noticed the other child glaring at them and inquired about him. Mandalay introduced Koda, her cousin's child. As Izuku approached Koda to introduce himself, he suddenly doubled over in pain, but Ida rushed to catch him, outraged at Koda's actions. Koda walked away, leaving confusion in his wake. After dinner and putting Eri to bed, the boys and girls separated for a bath. Kaminari, eager for a view of the girls, attempted to climb the wall but was thwarted by Koda, who knocked him off, causing him to land on Ida. Koda, blushing after accidentally seeing the girls, fell over to the boy's side, but Izuku caught him before he hit the ground. He took the unconscious boy to Mandalay, who thanked him for saving Koda. Izuku wondered why Koda seemed to dislike him, and Mandalay explained that Koda harbored resentment toward heroes due to the loss of his parents, who had been heroes themselves. This revelation made Izuku feel sympathy for the boy. Afterward, Izuku returned to join his friends as they prepared for the next day's training. All of Class 1A and Class 1B were engaged in various exercises to enhance their quirks. Izuku, James, Sasha, Ben, and Kylie were sparring against each other, both on the ground and with their Zords. Meanwhile, Shinso was practicing vocal exercises, while everyone else followed the training routine from the show. Koda observed Izuku and the others from behind a tree. A voice called out to him, and he turned to see Eri standing there. She expressed her curiosity about what he was doing. Koda replied that he was just watching the others and asked her to leave him alone. Eri pointed out Izuku and Ochako, claiming they were her parents. Koda skeptically noted that they were just teenagers and that she didn't resemble them. Eri explained that they were adopting her after Izuku saved her from a bad man. Koda remained indifferent but agreed to be friends when Eri asked, which made her excited and prompted her to hug him, causing him to blush. Meanwhile, Mandalay, Pixbob, Ragdoll, and Tiger watched the interaction with smiles, noting how quickly Koda was growing up. Later that evening, the students gathered for dinner. Mina posed a question to Oliver, Sasha, Kylie, and Collins about why their quirks were similar to Izuku's. Ben explained that some Rangers could transfer morphing grid energy to others, allowing them to transform into Power Rangers. He mentioned that his father had recently retired and passed on his ability to someone named Tate. Izuku noticed Koda walking into the forest and decided to follow him while carrying his plate of food. He trailed the boy to a cliff overlooking the forest. When Koda asked what he wanted, Izuku was surprised that he had been noticed. He inquired about Koda's parents, revealing that he knew they were water hose. Koda expressed his resentment towards them for sacrificing themselves and leaving him alone, while Izuku shared his own difficult family experiences. He encouraged Koda to appreciate the love he received from his parents and those caring for him. After finishing his meal, Izuku left his plate in front of Koda before departing. The next night, Class 1A, minus a few members, prepared to navigate the woods while avoiding scares from Class 1B. Izuku was on his own without a partner. Meanwhile, Shigaraki, the new Psycho Rangers, and several other villains stood on a cliff overlooking the camp, plotting their next move based on information from Minoma. As Izuku entered the woods, he was suddenly engulfed in pink mustard gas, which incapacitated some members of Class 1B. Villains emerged from warp gates, launching an attack on the students and pros. Izuku called upon the Dragon Zord, fighting off the villains and rushing into the forest to find Ochako and the others. He spotted them engaged in a struggle with a blonde girl wielding knives. Izuku intervened, disarming her with his dagger. The girl, with a psychotic smile, taunted him, but Ochako told her to leave them alone. Izuku then kicked the girl away, rendering her unconscious, and checked on Ochako and Tsu, who assured him they were fine. Ochako mentioned the girl had threatened them. Mandalay rushed over, anxious about Koda's whereabouts. Izuku suggested he might know where Koda had gone, and Mandalay urged him to find the boy while she took care of the other kids. Izuku sprinted back to the cliff where he had spoken to Koda earlier. Upon arrival, he found Koda in danger from a giant villain poised to strike. Izuku quickly pulled Koda out of harm's way just in time. Koda trembled as he recognized the villain as the one who had killed his parents. The villain, Muscular, taunted Izuku, who was enraged by being called by his last name. He declared his name as Izuku Oliver and prepared to fight. Blowing into the dragon dagger summoned the Dragon Zord, which appeared and aimed its fingers at Muscular, who was taken aback. Izuku moved Koda to safety before the Dragon Zord unleashed a barrage of missiles at the villain. When the smoke cleared, Muscular was left unconscious, having been blasted into a hole in the mountain. Izuku demorphed and checked on Koda, who hugged him in tears, calling him his hero. Izuku then escorted Koda back to Mandalay and Aizawa, informing them that the villains were after him. Mandalay sent a telepathic message to alert the others at the camp. Throughout the camp, all teachers and students received the message, which warned them about the threat to Izuku Oliver. They proceeded to the main building, where Ochako, Ida, Kirishima, Tokoyami, Sasha, James, and the rest awaited their return. Mandalay instructed everyone to get inside the building. Other pros should be here soon, Mandalay said. Oh, we don't think so, a voice replied. They all turned to see 7 menacing-looking rangers walking towards them. The Psycho Rangers! Kylie exclaimed. That can't be. The Space Rangers and the Lost Galaxy Rangers destroyed them decades ago, Izuku added. We're here for you, Izuku. Come with us now, and we'll let your friends live, Psycho Red stated. I know better than to trust a Psycho Ranger, Izuku responded as he pulled out his morpher. Izuku whispered to Ochako, James, Sasha, Ida, Kirishima, Tokoyami, Kylie, and Ben, asking if they had their morphers. Yeah, but we can't morph here. Not with all these people watching. Ochako replied. It doesn't matter. They had to find out we were the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers eventually. Might as well show them now, Izuku insisted. With determination, Izuku, Ochako, James, Sasha, Ida, Kirishima, and Tokoyami whipped out their morphers, while Ben and Kylie held theirs up as well. They approached the Psycho Rangers. What are you kids doing? Get inside. Aizawa shouted. It's morphing time. Izuku declared. Mastodon. Tokoyami exclaimed. Pterodactyl. Ochako shouted. Triceratops. Ida called out. Saber-toothed tiger. Sasha yelled. Tyrannosaurus. Kirishima announced. Tiger Zudi. James declared. Dragon Zerdi. Izuku shouted. The teenagers were all fully morphed, with Ben and Kylie also transformed into their ranger forms. Kaminari expressed his surprise, realizing the extent of their powers. Momo was astonished to learn that Uraraka, Ida, Kirishima, and Tokoyami were also Power Rangers. Tetsu admired their strength. Aizawa, surprised, noted that he hadn't been informed about their identities as Power Rangers. Ochako explained that Nizu was aware and would clarify things later. Izuku urged Aizawa to get the others inside, emphasizing that they were the only ones capable of fighting the enemies. Aizawa reluctantly agreed, warning them to be cautious before leading the others indoors. Psycho Black taunted them, declaring that their numbers wouldn't save them. Izuku confidently responded, drawing his weapon alongside the others. Attack! Izuku commanded, and both groups charged at each other. Izuku faced Psycho Green, Kirishima battled Psycho Red, Ida confronted Psycho Blue, Sasha clashed with Psycho Yellow, Tokoyami engaged Psycho Black, Ochako took on Psycho Pink, and James faced Psycho Silver, while Ben and Kylie joined the fray. Izuku's weapon met Psycho Green's in a fierce clash. Psycho Green pleaded for help, her voice tinged with desperation. Izuku was taken aback, questioning why he should assist a villain. He noticed Psycho Green's emotional turmoil, her laughter intermingled with cries, leaving him bewildered. Suddenly, Psycho Red overpowered Kirishima, seizing Izuku by the throat and lifting him off the ground. Psycho Red threatened to render Izuku powerless again, forcefully removing his morpher and reverting him to his human form. With a swift motion, Psycho Red crushed Izuku's power coin and morpher. Izuku's anguished scream echoed as a portal opened, and the Psycho Rangers dragged him through it before his friends could intervene. The portal closed behind them. Izuku awoke, bound to a chair in a dimly lit room, struggling against his restraints. He called out for help, but Psycho Red's voice cut through the darkness, revealing the presence of the Psycho Rangers. Psycho Red expressed their intent to make him suffer as they had. Izuku was shocked to see the identities of the Psycho Rangers. Tashinori as Psycho Red, Inko as Psycho Silver, Shoto as Psycho Blue, Shoka as Psycho Pink, Katsuki as Psycho Black, Katsumi as Psycho Yellow, and Izumi as Psycho Green. Izuku's disbelief was palpable as he recognized them. Katsuki declared their intent to ruin Izuku's life, blaming him for their suffering. A voice interrupted, and the Psycho Rangers turned to see Lord Draken entering the room. Draken ordered a moment alone with Izuku, and the Psycho Rangers reluctantly complied. Izuku questioned Draken's identity, sensing familiarity in his voice. Draken revealed himself as Lord Draken, but not from Izuku's Earth. Izuku's eyes widened in realization as Draken explained his conquest of other worlds and his interest in Izuku's potential. Draken noted the hatred Izuku harbored for his parents, bullies, and sister, trying to manipulate him. Izuku defended his feelings towards Izumi, stating she seemed remorseful. Draken admitted to using Psycho Green's powers to control her, revealing his intentions to use the Psycho Rangers for his own gain. Izuku questioned his fate, fearing he would be discarded once Draken had no use for him. Draken assured him of his value, offering access to the multiverse in exchange for Izuku's cooperation. Izuku declined the offer. Draken signaled for the Psycho Rangers to return, and they entered the room, ready to follow his orders. Meanwhile, at UA, Ochako and the others were deeply concerned about Izuku's safety, with the pros still lacking leads on the league. They gathered in the Heights Alliance dorms, discussing their options. Kylie explained that her parents had fought the Psycho Rangers, but she had not been involved. Ochako inquired about the Space Rangers, but Kylie revealed they were on a secret mission far away. Kaminari pressed for an explanation of how they became Power Rangers, and just then, Tommy, Nizu, and Aizawa entered the room. They proceeded to share the story of how Izuku, Ochako, James, Sasha, Kirishima, Ida, and Tokoyami became the new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Siro expressed his astonishment at the revelations. Nizu emphasized the importance of keeping their identities confidential. Suddenly, the Rangers' watches beeped, signaling a breakthrough. Zordon informed them that he had located Izuku and instructed them to come to the command center for details. Tommy confirmed their readiness to assist. The new Mighty Morphin Rangers, along with the original Power Rangers and Nizu, teleported to the command center. Ochako asked Zordon how they could rescue Izuku. Zordon explained that every Ranger leaves an energy signature when they morph, and he had traced Izuku's signature to a building in Kamino. Ochako rallied the group, eager to set out and save Izuku. "Hang on now," Zordon cautioned, preparing to guide them on their mission. "We should let the pros handle it," Ida suggested. Nizu informed the students that he would contact the Hero Association, explaining that they did not have their licenses yet and would need to sit this one out. Meanwhile, Izuku found himself alone in a room after the Psycho Rangers had just finished their assault. He was left with a blonde girl from the camp. Izuku struggled, feeling the sting of pain as he spat blood. He asked her what she wanted. The girl approached him, saying she thought he was cute. Izuku, feeling defensive, told her to back off. She introduced herself as Himiko Toga, stating that she had a name. Izuku responded that he had a girlfriend, making it clear he wasn't interested. Toga mentioned Ochako, complimenting her and revealing her disturbing enjoyment of drinking blood, including Izuku's. She then pulled out a knife and made a small cut on Izuku's arm, causing him to wince. Toga liked the knife clean, declaring it delicious. Izuku found her disgusting, and after a moment, she left him alone. In his mind, he pleaded for help from his friends. In a meeting room at Endeavor's hero agency, Tommy, Kimberly, Jason, and several pro-heroes gathered. Endeavor explained that Nizu had received an anonymous tip about Izuku being held captive in a building in Kamino, and they were preparing for a rescue with the help of the Power Rangers. They quickly made their way to the building in Kamino. Back with Izuku, he remained tied to a chair in the bar section of the League of Villains base. Shoka asked if they could eliminate him, but Lord Draken insisted it wasn't time yet. Suddenly, the wall burst open, and Tommy, Kimberly, Jason, Endeavor, Aizawa, and other pro-heroes entered. Aizawa used his capture gear to restrain the villains. Tommy and Kimberly demanded the return of their son, but Draken refused, cutting through the capture gear with his weapons. Tommy questioned where Draken had obtained those weapons, to which Draken replied they were from his universe. In a flash, multiple warp gates opened, allowing the villains to escape with Izuku. Tommy screamed in frustration, but Kimberly reminded him they could still track Izuku through his energy signature. Tommy activated his communicator, reaching out to Zordon for Izuku's location. Zordon informed him that Izuku was in an abandoned warehouse on the other side of Kamino and sent the coordinates. Tommy thanked Zordon, and when Endeavor asked about Zordon, Tommy simply referred to him as a friend. Back with Izuku, he and the villains found themselves in a large warehouse filled with Nomus in tubes. Izuku asked where they were, but Inko slapped him, telling him to be quiet. All for One emerged from the shadows, introducing himself as the creator of One for All and revealing his connection to Izuku's grandmother, Nana Shimura. Izuku was shocked to learn that Tashinori was working with the man responsible for his mentor's death. Tashinori explained that All for One had taken One for All from him and his successors, making him powerful once again. Izuku turned to Inko, questioning how she could serve someone who had harmed her own mother. Inko revealed her resentment towards Izumi, blaming her for being quirkless. Just then, Tommy and the other rangers and heroes burst in again, demanding Izuku's return. All for One refused, and a battle ensued. During the fight, All for One unleashed a massive energy blast, causing the building to begin collapsing. Tommy quickly shielded Izuku from the falling debris. After the dust settled, Izuku, Tommy, Kimberly, Jason, and the surviving heroes and villains emerged from the wreckage, finding the building reduced to a massive crater. Meanwhile, Ochako and Class 1A watched the news in disbelief, fearing for Izuku's safety. They were relieved to see him and the others emerge from the rubble but noticed a Power Ranger in a white and green outfit on the villain's side. Suddenly, their watches beeped, and they answered the call from Zordon, who summoned them to the command center. Zordon informed them that Izuku and the others were in grave danger, as the League of Villains had a new Power Ranger on their side, a fusion of the Green and White Rangers. Ochako insisted they needed to help, despite their lack of licenses. Zordon assured them they would be morphed, so their identities would remain hidden, and requested their power coins for a moment. The group handed their morphers to Alpha, who upgraded their power coins and ranger forms. Zordon also mentioned that Izuku's power coin and morpher had been repaired and upgraded, instructing them to give them to him when they found him. Determined, Ochako rallied her friends, and they teleported to Japan, with her silently urging Izuku to hang on. Upon arriving near the crater, they saw Izuku and the others engaged in battle against the villains. The Psycho Rangers had already taken down several heroes, leaving destruction in their wake. Removing their helmets, the Psycho Rangers revealed their identities, taunting Izuku before the battle intensified. The world watched in shock as the confrontation unfolded. The Psycho Rangers were none other than Toshinori Yagi, Inko Yagi, Izumi Yagi, Shoto Todoroki, Shoka Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, and Katsumi Bakugo. Ochako expressed her frustration, realizing they had turned to evil. Kirishima urged the group to help Izuku, pointing out a news helicopter in the sky that would broadcast their actions to the world. Ochako had an idea and activated her watch, asking Zordon if he could jam the signal of the helicopter. Zordon informed her that Billy could handle it, and moments later, the camera in the helicopter malfunctioned, leaving the crew unaware of the events below. With the signal jammed, Ida led the charge toward Izuku, who was surprised to see them. He questioned their presence since they didn't have their licenses, but Ochako explained that Zordon had sent them to assist him. James handed Izuku his morpher, which had been repaired and upgraded by Zordon. Izuku declared it was morphin time, and the team transformed into their ranger outfits, much to Toshinori's dismay. As they morphed, an explosion erupted behind them, and Lord Draken commanded the Psycho Rangers to attack. The Psycho Rangers drew their weapons and charged at Izuku and his friends, who met them head-on. Izuku faced Toshinori, confronting him about his past as a quirkless individual. Toshinori, filled with anger, spoke of his transformation into a powerful being and his resentment towards Nana for taking his power away. Izuku reminded Toshinori of One for All, expressing his frustration that it had been given to those who had bullied him. Fueled by determination, Izuku unleashed his fighting spirit and attacked Toshinori with his dragon dagger, executing maneuvers he had never attempted before. Meanwhile, Ochako battled Shoka, who taunted her about having once liked Izuku but dismissed him upon learning he was quirkless. Angered, Ochako fired a powerful arrow at Shoka, damaging her armor. Back in the fight between Izuku and Toshinori, Toshinori attempted to remove Izuku's morpher but found it impossible due to Zordon's upgrades. In a moment of desperation, Izuku charged his dragon dagger and delivered a decisive blow to Toshinori, shattering his armor and rendering him unconscious. James then targeted Inko, using Saba to blast her armor away and knock her out as well. Kirishima rallied the team, and they combined their weapons into the Power Blaster, preparing to finish the remaining Psycho Rangers. Despite Izumi and the Bakugo and Todoroki twins' protests, the Rangers unleashed a massive energy blast, defeating most of the Psycho Rangers. However, Izumi's Psycho Green Ranger armor remained intact, and she emerged from the wreckage, her eyes glowing green. Izuku reached out to Izumi, trying to reach the person he knew was still inside, but she laughed and cried simultaneously before declaring that Izumi Yagi was dead and teleporting away. Lord Draken expressed his frustration at her departure, while all for one remarked on the failure of their plan before leaving through a warp gate. Izuku and the other rangers surrounded Draken, who defiantly vowed to conquer the world before teleporting away. After the battle, the pros arrested Toshinori and the others. Toshinori protested, feeling it was unfair, but Izuku reminded him that it was what he deserved. Endeavor and Tuya handcuffed Shoto and Shoka, expressing their disappointment, while Best Jeanist tied up Katsuki and Katsumi. Gran Torino brought Inko to the police vehicle, lamenting her choices. As the vehicle drove away with the captured villains, Izuku noticed Shigaraki emerging from the wreckage. The pros and rangers prepared for a fight, but Shigaraki collapsed, expressing feelings of abandonment. Izuku ordered everyone to stand down and approached Shigaraki, helping him to his feet. He empathized with Shigaraki's pain of being forgotten and offered him a chance to do good by joining them in their fight against the League of Villains, emphasizing that he was not alone. "I can get the pros to pardon you if you agree to help us stop the League. All you have to do is take my hand, Tenko," Izuku said as he extended his hand for Tenko to take. Tenko was taken aback and asked how Izuku knew his real name. Izuku explained that he looked him up right after the mall incident because he wanted to know more about him. Tenko hesitated, expressing concern that if he took Izuku's hand, he would disintegrate it. Izuku countered that he believed Tenko's quirk was tied to his emotions and encouraged him to concentrate on happy thoughts before taking his hand. As Tenko was about to reach out, James warned Izuku that he would lose his hand. But Izuku remained confident, insisting that he wouldn't. Tenko finally took Izuku's hand. Instead of disintegrating, Tenko's skin became smoother, and his hair returned to its natural black color. Izuku welcomed him back to the family. A few weeks later, Izuku and the others had recovered from the events in Kamino. Toshinori, Inko, Katsuki, Katsumi, Shoto, and Shoko were placed in more secure prison cells, surrounded by anti-portal energy fields. Izuku had informed Tommy and the others about Lord Draken, and they planned to contact other universes for information about him. Izuku and the other rangers had received their provisional hero licenses and were now legally allowed to perform hero work. After taking down a group of villains in downtown Mizudafu, they were surrounded by reporters. One reporter asked Izuku how it felt to possibly be the next #1 hero, while another inquired about the other team members' quirks and the fate of the Psycho Rangers. Questions about Tenko's potential attack and the mysterious White and Green Ranger from the Kamino battle were also raised. Izuku explained that some answers were classified but assured them that they were there to protect the Earth from any threats. Once they teleported back to the dorms, they found Tenko drawing with Eri. Tenko was now living with Class 1A, having been pardoned for his past crimes and with nowhere else to go. However, the other students still felt uneasy around him. Izuku greeted everyone, and Eri excitedly called him Daddy, while Tenko acknowledged him as cousin. Izuku asked how they were doing, and they both replied positively. Ochako then mentioned she wanted to talk to Izuku about something important, revealing that her parents wanted to meet him. Izuku agreed. Outside Ochako's parents' apartment, Izuku felt a mix of nerves and excitement. They knocked on the door, and Mrs. Uraraka warmly welcomed them, recognizing Izuku. Mr. Uraraka invited them in, and they all settled on the couches. Mr. Uraraka expressed gratitude for saving their daughter, and Izuku responded politely. Mrs. Uraraka then asked when they would meet their grandchild, to which Ochako explained that Eri couldn't leave school yet due to safety concerns. Curious about how Ochako became a Power Ranger, Mr. Uraraka prompted them to share the story, which they did with permission from Zordon. Ochako emphasized the importance of keeping this information secret, and her mother assured her they would. After enjoying dinner together, Izuku and Ochako said their goodbyes and returned to the dorms. Meanwhile, on the moon, Izumi, under the influence of the Psycho Green Ranger powers, stood as her power began to grow. She pleaded for release, but a voice in her head declared that she was now under its control and that the end of the Rangers was approaching. A few days later, Izuku and the others attended their work studies, where they met the Big Three, Mirio Togata, Nijire Heido, and Tamaki Amajiki. Izuku and Mirio interned with Sir Night Eye, one of All Might's former sidekicks. As they walked to Night Eye's headquarters, Izuku asked Mirio what to expect. Mirio advised him to try to make Night Eye laugh. Upon entering Night Eye's office, they were startled to find a girl with blue skin in a hero costume strapped to a machine. Night Eye was observing as the machine tickled her. When he noticed Izuku and Mirio, he deactivated the machine and introduced himself, mentioning All Might had spoken highly of Izuku before his misdiagnosis. Izuku clarified that he was not quirkless but had been misdiagnosed. Night Eye then asked Lemillion and Bubble Girl to step outside for a moment. Turning back to Izuku, Night Eye stated that it was clear Izuku's Green Ranger powers were not a quirk. When Izuku bristled at the suggestion of being quirkless, Night Eye reassured him that he had no issue with quirkless individuals. He explained that many people doubted the misdiagnosis and were vocal about it, often in a toxic manner. There is a significant portion of the public who are against quirkless individuals, like Izuku's parents, and those people support All Might, Green Magnet, and his bullies, Night Eye explained. Izuku felt a wave of sadness wash over him. The world still harbored many prejudiced individuals. Night Eye continued, expressing his disapproval of All Might and his wife. He asked Izuku if he knew what One for All was. Izuku responded that it was All Might's quirk, as well as his grandmother's, and he had overheard discussions about All Might intending to pass it on to several others. Night Eye revealed that when All Might informed him of this plan, he had immediately opposed it, believing it was too risky to transfer One for All to multiple people at once. He had suggested Mirio as a candidate, but All Might dismissed him, claiming Mirio wouldn't be a real hero. Night Eye had been puzzled by this until he witnessed Mirio's violent actions on the news, which made him understand All Might's perspective. Once a devoted fan, Night Eye now wanted nothing to do with All Might after realizing the truth about him. Izuku noticed a large amount of All Might merchandise crammed into a trash can in the corner of the room, some of it rare and once valuable. Night Eye shifted the conversation, stating that now that Izuku was present, there was something important that he and the other Power Rangers were needed for. A few days later, Izuku, Ochako, Ida, James, Sasha, Tokoyami, Kirishima, Ben, Kylie, Sue, Mirio, Nijire, Tamaki, and several pro-heroes gathered at Night Eye's office, seated around a large table in a meeting room. With everyone present, Night Eye activated a screen on the wall, displaying a picture of Overhaul. He introduced Kai Chisaki, also known as Overhaul, the current head of the Yakuza and the 8 Precepts of Death. Night Eye explained that Overhaul had been experimenting on a young girl to create quirk erasing bullets, and they were planning to raid the Yakuza's base to stop him. Upon arriving at the Yakuza base, they found the neighborhood evacuated, but a large number of anti-quirkless protesters remained to harass Izuku. One protester shouted derogatory remarks, while another insisted that Izuku had no place in society. Izuku responded defiantly, asserting that he had a quirk, but the protesters continued to taunt him, claiming he was a fraud. Ignoring them, Izuku focused on the task at hand. A police officer activated the speaker at the front gate, announcing their warrant for Chi Kasaki's arrest. Suddenly, a giant villain burst through the gates, launching an attack. Izuku and the other Rangers morphed, causing the protesters to flee in fear. Rika transformed into a giant dragon, engaging the villain alongside Nijire, while Izuku and his fellow Rangers, along with Night Eye, Mirio, Tamaki, and several pro-heroes, entered the building. They soon confronted Overhaul in a large room. He shouted accusations at them, claiming they had stolen his property. Izuku countered, asserting that Eri was never his property but a frightened girl who had suffered at his hands. The battle began, and during the fight, Mirio was struck by a quirk erasing bullet, losing his powers. Night Eye was gravely injured, and Ochako, Ben, and Sue rushed to bring him and Mirio to safety. Night Eye had glimpsed Izuku's future and it was grim. He gravely warned that Izuku was destined to die at Overhaul's hands. Ochako was shocked, insisting they had to prevent it. Night Eye explained that he had tried to change the future before, but it was impossible. Ben interjected, recalling how his mother and the Time Force Rangers had once altered a tragic fate. Determined, he insisted they could change Izuku's future as well. The urgency of the situation grew as Night Eye revealed the extent of Overhaul's power. Meanwhile, Izuku faced Overhaul, who began to mutate and grow larger. Overhaul boasted about enhancements he had received, and Izuku realized the threat he posed. As Overhaul transformed into a giant monster, Izuku regrouped with his fellow Rangers. They all shared a determined resolve to fight back. Izuku called for their Zords, and the Tyrannosaurus Zord, Saber-Tooth Tiger Zord, Triceratops Zord, Pterodactyl Zord, and Mastodon Zord teleported to their location, combining into a formidable Megazord. Izuku also summoned the Dragon Zord, while James called forth the Tiger Zord, which converted to warrior mode. The Zords clashed with Overhaul, but he proved to be an overwhelming force. Ida suggested they combine their powers even further, and Izuku played a tune on the Dragon Dagger, merging the Dragon Zord with the Megazord. The battle was escalating, and the stakes had never been higher. Overhaul roared in defiance, declaring that he would take down all the robots. The Dragon Megazord responded by launching him into a nearby body of water, rendering him unconscious and reverting him to his normal form. The Megazord then picked Overhaul up and placed him in front of the professionals and police officers, who promptly detained him. The Rangers exited the Megazord, which then teleported away. James expressed excitement about their victory, noting that they had defeated a monster with their Zords for the first time. However, Sue interrupted their celebration, drawing their attention to the urgent situation. Sue, Ben, Kylie, and Mirio were holding Night Eye, who was in critical condition. Izuku insisted they needed to get Night Eye to a hospital immediately. After the confrontation, Overhaul and the remaining Yakuza members were taken to prison, while Night Eye, Mirio, and the other injured professionals were rushed to the hospital. Izuku and Mirio learned that Night Eye's condition was dire, prompting them to visit him in his hospital room during his final moments. They stood beside his bed, filled with sorrow. Mirio pleaded with Night Eye not to leave them yet, but Night Eye, weak but resolute, encouraged Mirio to keep smiling and to strive to be the best hero he could be. Turning to Izuku, Night Eye requested his hand. As Izuku took it, Night Eye glimpsed a bright future for him, one where Izuku would become the greatest pro-hero and Power Ranger, a devoted husband and father, and a unifier of the world. Night Eye's last words echoed with hope before he passed away. Both Mirio and Izuku broke down in tears, mourning their loss. The day of Night Eye's funeral arrived, attended by Izuku, Mirio, Nijire, Tamaki, Ochako, Eri, Kirishima, Sue, Ida, Tokoyami, James, Sasha, and many other pro-heroes. At the end of the service, Izuku, Ochako, and Eri walked home together. Upon returning to the dorms, they found Tommy and Kimberly waiting for them. Kimberly explained that they had located Izumi, who was on the moon. They had detected strange energy waves and seen her through the viewing globe. Izuku was eager to rescue her, but Tommy cautioned that it wouldn't be simple. They believed Izumi was still under the control of the Green Psycho Ranger, making her potentially dangerous. The only way to counter her was to fight fire with fire, using Green Rangers to combat her. Tommy revealed that he had contacted every Green Ranger on Earth to assist in the mission, and he would be joining them as well. Izuku questioned how this was possible since Tommy had only been the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, which was currently Izuku's form. Tommy explained that Zordon and Ninja had found a way to temporarily duplicate the Green Ranger power coin and Morpher, allowing them both to be Mighty Morphin Green. A few days later, Izuku and Tommy arrived at a plane hangar on the outskirts of Japan. There, they met Adam, Trip, and several other Rangers, including a girl around Izuku's age. Tommy introduced Adam and Trip, who would be taking on the roles of the Green Zeo Ranger and the Green Time Force Ranger, respectively. Carlos Veilroot, primarily the Black Space Ranger, would revert to the Green Turbo Ranger for this mission. Damon Henderson was introduced as the Green Lost Galaxy Ranger, while Joel Rawlings represented the Green Lightspeed Rescue Ranger. Tommy introduced Cameron Watanabe, the Green Samurai Ranger from the Ninja Storm Rangers, and Xander Bly, the Green Mystic Force Ranger. Mike, the Green Samurai Ranger from the Samurai Power Rangers, and Jake Holling, the Green Super Mega Force Ranger, were also present. Finally, Izzy Garcia, the Green Dino Fury Ranger, and Ziggy Grover, the Green RPM Ranger, joined the group, along with Riley Griffin, the Green Dino Charge Ranger. Izuku expressed surprise at the existence of the RPM and Dino Charge teams, to which Tommy explained that they were from alternate universes. Riley elaborated that in his universe, quirks did not exist, and dinosaurs had not gone extinct. Ziggy added that his universe was once ruled by an evil AI named Venjix. Suddenly, a portal opened, and a man with brown hair in a green and gray uniform emerged. Xander recognized him as Bridge Carson, a Power Ranger from the future who had come to assist them. Bridge acknowledged Izuku, mistakenly referring to him as Eri, Tommy, and Kimberly's dad, before quickly correcting himself and apologizing for the spoilers. Tommy inquired about Bridge's presence, and he explained that he was there to help them prepare for a legendary battle in Ranger history. He noted that history recorded 15 Green Rangers fighting against Psycho Green, not 14, suggesting that one of SPD's Green Rangers would travel back in time to aid them. So they sent Bridge back here. He was actually the SPD Red Ranger, but he started out as the SPD Green Ranger. He was temporarily returning to that Ranger form to help everyone. He held up the SPD Green Ranger Morpher, explaining that he borrowed it from a friend. He was ready to join the fight. Tommy acknowledged that they could definitely use the extra help. Izuku then asked how they were going to get to the moon. The lights in the back of the hangar turned on, revealing a giant spaceship. Carlos informed them that it was the astromegaship Mk3, the ship he used to get to Earth, and they would be flying it to the moon. Tommy urged them to go save Izumi. They boarded the ship and took off toward the stars. While they waited to reach the moon, they gathered in the ship's meeting room. Tommy displayed a couple of holograms for everyone to see. One showed a group of 5 people, and the other depicted the Psycho Green Ranger. Tommy shared the information they had on Psycho Green. He explained that the Psycho Green Ranger was once a Green Ranger named Trek from the planet Zybria, part of the Supersonic Power Rangers. One day, he betrayed his team, leading to their demise, and was subsequently recruited by Dark Spectre to become the Psycho Green Ranger. In 1869, he was sent to release Rita Repulsa from her prison on the moon, but Zordon's defense cannons shot his ship down, putting him into hypersleep. 100 years later, when Neil Armstrong first set foot on the moon, Psycho Green awoke. Zordon then recruited the original Mighty Morphin Rangers to stop him. They managed to destroy Psycho Green, but most of them sacrificed their lives in the process. They had learned that Lord Draken acquired the remnants of Psycho Green's power and transferred it to Izumi. They believed Trek's consciousness was stored within the Psycho Green powers, and now he was controlling Izumi. It was their mission to save her. A few minutes later, they landed on the moon. As Carlos prepared to open the airlock, Izuku expressed concern about how they would breathe. Tommy reassured him that there was an oxygen field set up on this part of the moon long ago, so they would be fine. They stepped outside, ready for battle. Suddenly, Psycho Green appeared before them, taunting them with a dark and terrifying voice. Izuku demanded the return of his sister, to which Psycho Green challenged him to come and get her. The Rangers pulled out their morphers, and Izuku asked if they were ready. The other Green Rangers enthusiastically agreed. Tommy shouted that it was morphin time, signaling the start of their transformation. Izuku and Tommy activated their morphers, transforming into their Mighty Morphin Green Ranger forms. Adam activated his Zeomorpher, Carlos his Turbo Morpher, Damon his Galaxy Morpher, Joel his Lightspeed Rescue Morpher, Trip his Time Force Morpher, Cam his Samurai Morpher, Bridge his SPD Morpher, Xander his Mystic Force Morpher, Ziggy his RPM Morpher, Mike his Samuraiser, Jake his Super Mega Force Morpher, and Riley his Dino Charge Morpher. Finally, Izzy activated her Dino Fury Morpher. They were now fully morphed as Green Rangers. Psycho Green declared that it didn't matter how many Green Rangers they had, they would all perish. Izuku turned to his fellow Green Rangers, stating that they needed to save his sister. They all charged at Psycho Green, but despite their numbers, she proved to be incredibly powerful. Izuku called out to Bridge, asking how the history books indicated they would win this fight. Bridge admitted he didn't know, as the details were vague. Tommy then had an idea, instructing any Green Ranger with a Batlizer to use it now. He revealed that he had something for Izuku, pulling out a new morpher. Izuku questioned its purpose, and Tommy explained that he had discovered the green Dino gem, which linked to the Parasaur's Dino morpher, allowing the worthy to morph into the green Dino Thunder Ranger. He trusted Izuku with it. Izuku unmorphed and took the Dino morpher, placing it on his wrist. He shouted the activation phrase and transformed into the green Dino Thunder Ranger. He was amazed by the power he felt. Psycho Green, however, was undeterred and vowed to destroy Izuku. Izuku clashed with Psycho Green in his new ranger form, but she began to grow in size. Realizing he needed to escalate the fight, Izuku activated Super Dino mode, unleashing a series of powerful attacks. However, it still wasn't enough. Psycho Green retaliated with a massive energy blast, causing Izuku to unmorph. As she prepared to finish him off, Izumi's voice echoed in her mind, urging him not to give up. Suddenly, Psycho Green froze, unable to move. Deep within Izumi's mind, she found herself in the void of One for All, where a man with long green hair and a gem in his forehead stood before her. He introduced himself as Trek, the Green Psycho Ranger and former Green Supersonic Ranger. He acknowledged that she was regaining control of her body but declared his intent to stop her. A familiar voice then interrupted, and Izumi turned to see Nana Shimura and the previous holders of One for All, minus Toshinori and the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. Trek recognized them and questioned their purpose. Nana declared that he would let her granddaughter go and face the consequences of his actions. Trek retorted, questioning when they had started to consider her family, but Nana insisted that Izumi had learned her lesson and that there was still good within her. Which is why they were going to help her regain control of her body, Nana explained. The previous holders of One for All unleashed their power on Trek, and he burst into a flurry of green flames. The holders then turned their attention to Izumi. Nana stated that Izumi had redeemed herself, which is why they were giving her One for All back, as well as her telekinesis quirk. Izumi expressed her gratitude but insisted that she didn't want either of them. She knew someone else who should have them instead. Back outside Izumi's mind, Psycho Green had just exploded into green flames, and in his place lay another Green Ranger. As Izuku and the other Green Rangers approached, they realized it was a female version of the Green Supersonic Ranger. Mike wondered if that was Psycho Green, while Tommy clarified that it was the Green Supersonic Ranger, the ranger that Psycho Green used to be, but now it appeared to be a girl wearing the outfit. The Green Supersonic Ranger then stood up. The other Green Rangers got into fighting stances, but when she removed her helmet, they recognized her as Izumi. Izuku was surprised to see her and expressed his relief at her safety. The two twins embraced, and Izumi apologized for her past behavior, tears in her eyes. Izuku forgave her, and they both stopped hugging. Izumi revealed that Grandma had also given her One for All and her telekinesis quirk back, but she didn't want them. She wanted to give them to someone else instead. When Izuku asked who, Izumi said it was him. However, Izuku declined, stating that he was powerful enough with both the Mighty Morphin and Dino Thunder Green Ranger forms. Izumi insisted that she didn't want One for All or her telekinesis quirk anymore, feeling unworthy. Izuku reassured her that he knew someone who was worthy. A few hours later, once they arrived back on Earth and at UA, they received a warm welcome from the other students, minus Izumi. Tenko approached Izumi and confirmed that Izuku had told her the truth about him. Izumi was pleased to meet her cousin. Izuku and Izumi then went to the third-year dorms to see Mirio. Mirio expressed his happiness at their safe return from the moon and acknowledged Izumi as Izuku's sister. Izuku mentioned they had something to discuss with Mirio. They explained the situation regarding One for All. Mirio found it fascinating and asked why they were telling him this. Izumi explained that they wanted to give him One for All, as Night Eye had wanted him to have it, and since he currently didn't have a quirk, he was perfect for it. Mirio accepted the offer. He consumed a piece of Izumi's hair, and about an hour later, he possessed One for All, along with Izumi's quirk, Shoto's and Shoka's quirks, which combined into a powerful ice and fire quirk, and Katsuki's and Katsumi's quirks, which merged into an even more powerful explosion quirk, along with the quirks of all the previous holders of One for All. Meanwhile, All for One was sitting in his throne room alone when Lord Draken emerged from a portal. Draken confronted All for One, seeking revenge for his betrayal. All for One attempted to attack, but Draken had countermeasures for all his moves. Draken then struck All for One in the chest with the dragon dagger. All for One, weakened, questioned how Draken had evaded his attacks. Draken revealed that he had been studying All for One for a while and had even eliminated some alternate versions of him to prepare for this moment. He had countermeasures for all of All for One's attacks. All for One weakly declared that Draken would never win, to which Draken confidently replied that he already had. He then ended All for One's reign by slicing off his head. The rest of the League of Villains heard the noise and entered the room, finding Draken standing over All for One's headless body. Draken proclaimed that they all served him now. Izuku woke up in bed next to Ochako and Eri. Since they were a family now, they typically slept in the same bed together. However, Izuku and Ochako had not crossed any boundaries, as they were underage and had decided to follow the consent rules they had learned while spending time in America. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed, jolting them out of bed. Izuku opened the curtains to look out the window and called to Ochako, urging her to see what was happening. When they looked out, they saw an entire fleet of flying warships attacking the city. Izuku's and Ochako's watches began beeping, and they both answered them. Tommy informed them that they needed to get to the 1A classroom immediately and to bring all their classmates. Izuku, Ochako, Eri, and the rest of their classmates hurried to the 1A classroom, where Tommy, Kimberly, Aizawa, Vlad King, and Class 1B were gathered. Tommy explained that Lord Draken had killed All for One and taken control of the League of Villains. He informed them that Draken and his armies were attacking across Japan and would soon target the rest of the world. Many pro-heroes, including the Big Three, were trying to fight the army and evacuate civilians, but it wasn't enough. The only way to stop this was to recruit more Power Rangers, and he asked the students to join them. However, one student respectfully questioned whether all of them were Ranger material and how they would be able to give everyone Ranger forms. Izuku expressed doubt about the number of Rangers available. Kendo acknowledged the rivalry between their classes and mentioned that Monoma had betrayed them, but emphasized the need to unite against a common enemy. After the Rangers rescued Izuku, Tenko informed the professionals that Monoma was a spy, leading to his arrest. Tommy explained that Ninja, Billy, Zordon, and other Ranger teams had created more Ranger forms for the students, and they had already provided Ranger forms to 3 individuals who were not in either class. As the door slid open, 3 figures entered: a purple Ninja Storm Ranger, a red Turbo Ranger, and a black Dino Thunder Ranger. They powered down, revealing Shinso as the purple Ninja Storm Ranger, Tensei as the fully healed red Turbo Ranger, and Tenko as the black Dino Thunder Ranger. Tenko surprised everyone by showing his morpher, while Tensei displayed his morphed form and morpher key. Tenya rushed to embrace his brother, relieved to see him safe. Izuku expressed concern about the loss of the black Dino Thunder and red Turbo Ranger forms, but Tommy reassured him that he still had the red Zeo Ranger form to fight. Ida questioned how Tensei had healed, to which Tensei explained that the Rangers possessed advanced technology that healed his legs but not his engine. Tommy handed out morphers to the students, starting with Tsu, who transformed into the Green Beast Morpher Ranger. Kyoka became the Yellow Supersonic Ranger, and Mina morphed into the Pink Alien Ranger. Momo received a red morpher that belonged to a deceased ranger, transforming into the new Red Ninja Storm Ranger. Toru became the Green Ninja Steel Ranger, while Koji transformed into the Gold Jungle Fury Ranger, and Yuga became the Silver Mystic Force Ranger. After Class 1A received their morphers, it was Class 1B's turn. Itsuka morphed into the Orange Beast Morpher Ranger, Tetsu into the Silver Ninja Steel Ranger, and Setsuna into the Green Wild Force Ranger. Iber transformed into the Green Megaforce Ranger. With only 2 students left, Kaminari and Siro expressed their concern about being morphless. Tommy presented them with special morphers resembling the Mighty Morphin Ranger morphers. They morphed into the purple Mighty Morphin Ranger and the orange Mighty Morphin Ranger, respectively. Excited, they prepared to save the world. The Rangers, both old and new, arrived outside the school during the invasion, leaving Eri with Nizu. Tommy informed them that they had brought in every ranger team from Earth, including the Space Rangers, Lost Galaxy Rangers, RPM Rangers, and Dino Charge Rangers. However, they were unable to connect with other universes due to Lord Draken's interference. The Rangers split into groups to confront the invaders, with Izuku, Ochako, Tsu, Tenko, Izumi, James, Kimberly, and Tommy searching for Draken. As they navigated the streets, they were ambushed by Toga, who wore the uniform of Lord Draken's Red Ranger soldiers. Toga greeted them cheerfully, but Izuku and Ochako dismissed her. Toga attacked, but Ochako and Tsu defended themselves. Ochako insisted that Izuku and the others continue while she and Tsu held off Toga. Reluctantly, Izuku and the others pressed on until they reached the town center, where Lord Draken awaited them, standing next to a large object covered by a cloth. Izuku confronted Draken, declaring that it would end now. Draken taunted him, revealing that he had kidnapped Zordon, their mentor, and demanded their surrender in exchange for Zordon's life. Zordon urged the Rangers not to listen to Draken, warning that he was using Zordon's power to fuel his army and would not spare him. Draken dismissed Zordon's pleas, insisting that he was merely trying to provoke the Rangers into fighting him. "Now surrender," Draken commanded. "Never," Tommy replied defiantly. "Then die," Draken growled. The Ranger family fought Draken in a fierce battle. Despite being outnumbered 6-1, he still overpowered them. By the end of the fight, Draken had taken down Tommy, Kimberly, James, and Tenko. The red Zeo crystal was destroyed, leaving Tommy in his normal form, just a man. "Time to die, Green Ranger," Draken said as he prepared to stab Izuku with the dragon dagger. But at the last moment, Izumi moved in the way. Izuku screamed her name in desperation. Draken pulled the blade out of Izumi's stomach, and she struggled to keep her balance. "You would have done the same for me," she said weakly before falling to the ground. This enraged Izuku so much that he tapped into his deepest power and summoned an ancient weapon. The Sword of Darkness. "I'm surprised someone like you can control its power," Draken remarked. "I'm going to end you," Izuku declared darkly. Izuku clashed with Draken in a heated battle. "You're only a ranger because my alternate self thought you were special. Without your morpher and power coin, you're just a helpless child. I don't know what this world's rangers saw in you, but whatever it isn't worth it," Draken mocked. "They chose me because they knew I wouldn't let the power corrupt me. They chose me because I'm worthy," Izuku retorted. Draken then struck Izuku, knocking him toward Zordon. "Izuku, there is only one way to defeat Lord Draken and save the world. You must destroy me," Zordon said. "Zordon, no. I can't lose you too," Izuku exclaimed. "There is no other way. It is your duty as a Power Ranger to save the world. Now, destroy me," Zordon insisted. Draken began approaching Izuku, but Tommy managed to get up and hold him in place, though it wouldn't last long. "You have to do it, Izuku. There's no other way," Tommy urged while gripping his alternate self. Izuku took off his helmet and slowly nodded. "Goodbye, Zordon," he said, tears forming in his eyes. "Goodbye, Izuku. May the power protect you always," Zordon replied. Izuku powered up both the dragon dagger and the Sword of Darkness, swinging them at the device holding Zordon, creating an X that burst open. "No!" Draken screamed, but it was too late. The energy flowed across the city, and Draken and his army lost their ranger forms, leaving them powerless. Draken collapsed to his knees, looking up to see Izuku, Tommy, Kimberly, James, and Tenko holding Izumi, all glaring at him. "It's over," Izuku said as he wiped his tears away. After that, the rest of Draken's forces were apprehended. Ochako and Tsu confronted Toga and took her down before arresting her. The ranger teams began celebrating, but once Izuku and his family shared the news about Zordon, sadness fell over them. Draken was locked up in Tartarus, along with Izuku's former family and his bullies. Izumi was saved by Eri, who used her quirk to heal her wound. A few days had passed since the battle and the loss of Zordon. Izuku sat alone in his room, holding his morpher with his power coin inside. There was a knock on the door. "Can I come in?" Tommy asked. "Sure," Izuku replied. Tommy entered the room and sat next to Izuku on the bed. It's all my fault, Dad. I killed Zordon, Izuku confessed. You had no other choice, Izuku. If you hadn't done it, who knows what would have happened? It's kind of my fault for putting this responsibility on you. You're just a kid, but I faced similar challenges at your age. You'll get through this. I know you will, son, Tommy reassured him. Thanks, Dad, Izuku said. There's also another thing I came to tell you about, Tommy added. What is it? Izuku asked. Tommy then teleported them to the roof of the school, revealing an army of people cheering for the Green Ranger. What is this? Izuku exclaimed. It's your fans. The whole world knows what you did, and now almost all of them love you. You're their hero, Izuku, Tommy explained. You're our hero, too, Ochako said as she, Eri, Kimberly, Jason, Billy, Zach, James, Sasha, Ida, Kirishima, Tokoyami, and the rest of their teachers and classmates stepped onto the roof. Izuku began to cry, but these were not tears of sadness. They were tears of joy. He was finally the world's greatest hero. One more chapter remained, plus perhaps one discussing a future project. 20 years later, Izuku had the perfect life. On the night of Class 3A's graduation party, he proposed to Ochako, and she immediately said yes. Not long after, they discovered Ochako was pregnant with twins. 9 months later, a bouncing baby boy and girl entered the world. The boy was named Tommy Oliver, and the girl was named Kimberly Oliver. Tommy resembled his father, but with his mother's hair color. Kimberly looked just like her mother, but with her father's hair color. James and Sasha also got married and had a child around the same time as Izuku and Ochako. Their daughter's name was Trini Kwan Oliver, named after her late grandmother. Ben and Momo became a couple shortly after Lord Draken's defeat. They are now married and have a child. Kaminari and Jiro also got married and had a child, as did Kirishima and Mina, Tokoyami and Tsu, Ojiro and Toru, and Ida and Mei. Izumi was adopted by the Oliver family after the fight and now goes by Izumi Oliver. Kimberly was thrilled to have a daughter. Izumi also formed a bond with Siro after recovering from her injury, and they are now married with a child. Most of the UA students returned to being regular hero students after the battle, but they still held on to their morphers just in case. As for the original Power Rangers, most of them retired after a decade or so, as did most of the other Ranger teams. Tommy retired and passed his chain of martial arts dojos to James, while Kimberly retired and handed her chain of gymnastics centers to Ochako. Billy eventually moved on from Trini's passing and fell in love with a man whom he eventually married. Sasha was overjoyed to have two parents again. As for the new team of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, sadly, they don't work together as much anymore, since most of them live in different parts of the country now. Izuku and Ochako continued to fight alongside Ida frequently, even after he transitioned from being the Blue Ranger to becoming Ingenium a few years after Draken's defeat. He passed his Blue Ranger power coin and morpher to his daughter. They also fought alongside James and Sasha, though not as much with Kirishima and Tokoyami. Izuku was thriving. He held the title of the #1 ranked hero and Power Ranger. After Draken's defeat, he revealed to the public that he was quirkless and explained the workings of the Power Rangers and the morphing grid. While there remained many who harbored anti-quirkless sentiments, Izuku and the other Rangers worked diligently to apprehend those who posed a threat before they could act violently. Mirio had risen to become the #2 pro hero and was also a teacher at UA. He and Izuku fought side by side on numerous occasions. Tenko, once despised by the public, had now earned their love as the Black Dino Thunder Ranger and was also a teacher at UA. Izuku had built a loving family. He was supported by a caring mother, father, and brother who took him in, a fearless cousin, a redeemed sister, a wonderful wife, and 3 beautiful children. With the help of Izuku and the other Rangers, Ochako managed to secure enough financial stability for her parents to live comfortably. Tommy and Kimberly, Izuku's children, were diagnosed as quirkless at the age of 4, but this did not deter them or their family. As teenagers, they enrolled in the Ranger program at UA, which partnered with SPD, known as Space Patrol Delta. Tom became the new green SPD Ranger, while Kim took on the role of the new pink SPD Ranger. Eri emerged as the new SPD Omega Ranger after they successfully linked her quirk to her Omega Morpher. Koda, along with 2 classmates of Izuku named Katsuma and Mahoro, also joined the ranks of the Power Rangers. One day, Izuku and Ochako set out to visit Tommy and Kimberly at their home. Upon arrival, they were greeted by the elderly couple sitting on the front porch. Tommy greeted Izuku with a smirk, acknowledging him as the greatest ranger ever to exist. Izuku responded by crediting Tommy for his success. Suddenly, an SPD vehicle arrived, and Eri stepped out alongside Tom and Kim, all dressed in their SPD uniforms. The family exchanged warm greetings, with Kimberly commenting on how much the kids had grown. They all gathered for dinner inside the house. Ochako inquired about the kids' ranger training, to which Tom responded positively, praising Commander Tate and Bridge for their guidance. Izuku asked about Bridge's time-traveling visit, and Kim confirmed that he had shared stories of his adventures upon returning. As the evening progressed, James, Sasha, Trini, Tenko, Izumi, Siro, and their child joined the gathering. Izuku took a moment to reflect on his life, recalling his journey from being mistreated and powerless to having a loving family and incredible abilities. He felt a sense of pride in his transformation. This was the story of the man once known as Izuku Yagi, now recognized as Izuku Oliver, the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger. A year later, Izuku, Ochako, James, Kirishima, Ida, Tokoyami, and Sasha raced through a battlefield in their ranger suits, wielding their weapons. They fought against numerous robots and enemy soldiers, striving to avoid causing harm. They soon spotted a Megazord engaged in battle with a colossal evil robot. An explosion erupted, plunging everything into darkness. When the chaos subsided, Izuku found himself holding Ochako in his arms, uncertain of her fate. A familiar voice broke through the silence, taunting him. It was Lord Draken, who reveled in Izuku's despair, claiming he would take pleasure in destroying him and his family. Fueled by rage, Izuku drew his sword and charged at Draken. Izuku's journey was far from over, and a sequel was on the horizon, promising a darker and more serious narrative, inspired by the 2017 Power Rangers movie but with an improved storyline.